What is going on, guys? It is a little bit of a different version of the Sunday Live Before Lock show because it's on Saturday for this week. And the reason for that is because DraftKings running a Millie Maker this weekend, but it is locking on Saturday as opposed to Sunday. So with the bigger contest being all four games encompassing, we decided to move the big show to today as opposed to having it tomorrow. There's still going to be a shorter Live Before Lock for tomorrow's show, but the big block of shows, we're doing it today to acquiesce to the biggest DFS contest. So do us a favor as you're in here, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to be here for the next 30 minutes or so. Then you're going to have Ben and Lofty on the deep dive for an hour. And then finally, it is going to be both Eric as well as Spags on the final Live Before Lock block for the last hour leading you up to the start of the games here. So we're going to start to get into it, and there's some really interesting talking points that came out of the news today. So usually for very high leverage playoff games, especially for teams having buys that have, a week off of rest, there isn't that much news. But apparently at some point, Sam Darnold, oblique injury, he hasn't even been practicing from what we've heard reported from Adam Schefter with the starters. It's actually been Drew Lock who's taking the number one reps in practice. So we'll see what that ends up meaning for Sam Darnold for today. I did post a bet built around that news over to Tails. So if you guys want to check that out, go to Tails. Either download the app or you go to tails.bet in your search bar and you'll see it pinned to my profile. A same game parlay that I built kind of leaning into the Sam Darnold news and the injury. And that's also going to matter for the slate today. And we're going to get right into the projections. And normally I would start by just looking at the top projected quarterback, but I think that him being the most interesting person right now, here's what we do with Sam Darnold. We have Sam Darnold in for 17 fantasy points and right now 17% projected ownership. Now, a lot of that is subject to change depending on what kind of additional news breaks as we get closer to the start of the game. But I'll tell you guys for myself, I do not have interest in Sam Darnold right now. But my interest in Sam Darnold is betting his unders because this oblique injury, it seems like bad news for Sam Darnold and the Seahawks passing game. But then instead, I have to dive more into the scary run game of the Seattle Seahawks and figure out what to do with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, because I think that's what the Seahawks are going to do. I think they're going to lean into running the ball a little bit more with Sam Darnold not being totally healthy. But this is where we got Darnold right now. 17.04 fantasy point projection. The only QBs projected lower than him are Brock Purdy and CJ Stroud, but I do expect both the projection and the ownership on Darnold to go down as we get closer to the start of the game tonight. But here's what we got for the rest of the quarterbacks. On the high end, Josh Allen, he's leading the slate with about a 20.5 fantasy point projection. Then we've got just over 19 fantasy points to Matt Stafford and Drake May. Then you've got Bo Nix and Caleb Williams in the 18 fantasy point range. Ownership at QB, we have Sam Darnold's not going to be the most popular quarterback on the slate. I know that's what we have projected right now, but I just can't imagine it's going to be the case as we actually get to lock. But as of right now, he's your chalk at the quarterback position. If we look at the points per dollar values at the position, Bo Nix, Sam Darnold, Drake May. But one thing I should add about the ownership, it is very spread out. It's not like anybody, even though Darnold is projected for the most ownership, it's not like he's projected for so much more ownership than all the other quarterbacks. It's just marginally more ownership going to Sam Darnold, 17%. The next most popular quarterbacks are Bo Nix at 16% and Josh Allen at 16%. The running back position, here's what we've got now. Christian McCaffrey leading the way at 23 fantasy point projection. Big gap between him and everybody else. We're looking at a 6 fantasy point difference between him and RJ Harvey. Then you got James Cook at 16.3 fantasy points. Then there's another big drop off. Then you get to Kyron Williams, Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, DeAndre Swift. All these guys pretty closely grouped together in our projections. Ownership at running back, Christian McCaffrey, he is the most popular running back. Makes sense when you consider what his projection is. And then also you guys will see here that behind him, we got one other chalk option, RJ Harvey, 43% owned. Then there's a pretty steep drop off. No other running backs more than 25% owned, 24.5% ownership to Charbonnet, 22% to James Cook, 20.5% to Kenneth Walker. Points per dollar top plays at the running back position. We've got RJ Harvey, Christian McCaffrey, Zach Charbonnet. If you want to know the difference that we have in projection between Charbonnet and Walker, it's not much. 13.25 fantasy points and 13.22 fantasy points, 24.57 ownership on Charbonnet compared to 20.5 for Walker. They look very, very similar in our data, which completely makes sense if you guys have watched any of the Seahawks games this year or have tried to figure out how to differentiate between them. It's very difficult. They're very similar on a week-to-week basis projection-wise. And then you never know what's actually going to be the game script. Because sometimes Kenneth Walker is playing better than Zach Charbonnet, and Charbonnet gets more touches, and sometimes it's the inverse, and it's Kenneth Walker gets more touches. It's not even a hot hand approach. It's like a roll the dice approach, and we just play whoever the hell we feel like. So Charbonnet, Walker. Now, considering the Darnold news, I am going to be overweight to both of them, but I don't have some sort of magic answer to you guys in terms of who is going to be the better running back for fantasy of the two. If I have to pick one, I'll just lean towards Kenneth Walker being slightly less popular, but I want to be pretty split in between the two. Now, at wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua projected just ahead of JSN, 23.66 for Nacua, 22.53 for JSN. Considering the uncertainty with Sam Darnold and JSN projecting a little bit less, and then also being a little bit more popular right now, I'm going to lean towards Puka Nacua. Of the two spend-up wide receivers, I feel much better about that situation than the Seahawks passing game. Then you got Devontae Adams, 15.2 fantasy points, and then a very big drop-off to Cortland Sutton, Stephon Diggs, and then Khalil Shakir. Also, all these guys in the 12 to 13 fantasy point range. Ownership at wide receiver, we've got JSN leading the way still as of now. Once again, I think that's going to come down in a similar way to I think Darnold's will come down later on in the day. Puka Nacua, 47% owned. Then three other wide receivers north of 20% owned, Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, and Devontae Adams. Your top points per dollar plays at wide receiver, JSN, Puka Nacua, Christian Kirk. I thought Kirk was going to be mega popular this week, considering how well he played last week in the absence of Nico Collins, and the Nico Collins being out again with the concussion. But with that said, Christian Kirk, early in the week, Lofty and I were trying to look for pivots to get off of Christian Kirk. If he's just not going to be all that popular, well, then I'm going to just want to play him at $4,100. Shakir, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, other top points per dollar plays that we have at wide receiver right now. Tight end, we've got Colston Loveland. Decent gap between him and everybody else. He's at 13.11 fantasy points. The only other tight ends with double-digit fantasy point projections are Dalton Schultz and Hunter Henry. Ownership at tight end, we've got pretty spread out. Two tight ends over 20% owned. It's Jake Tunges and Colston Loveland. And our top points per dollar tight ends, Tunges, Schultz, AJ Barner, Colston Loveland. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start building some lineups. If you guys are a Stokastic sub and have any questions for me over the course of the show, or if you just want me to build out a lineup for you, hit me up in Discord and I will certainly plug in your lineup or answer any questions you have. And if you guys don't have any questions, that's also totally fine. I will just go ahead and build some of the lineups that I generally find to be of interest and see what ends up projecting out the best. So let's go ahead and start with a Stafford lineup. So in general, Stafford is who our data likes the best for all of the games. And it's kind of funny. We rarely think about late swap for NFL, but for a slate like this, where we have a really uncertain situation with Sam Darnold, it is actually a little bit favorable to have a little bit less exposure to the first game on the slate and then have your lineups a little bit more ready to use the Stokastic late swap tool in case anything crazy ends up happening with Sam Darnold. Either he gets ruled out or we find out that he's iffy to finish the game or something like that. So this is a very rare situation where I think it kind of helps to have a little bit of backloaded NFL lineups. But here's what I like to do with Stafford. Nothing crazy. Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. That's a core stack for the slate. Also, I'm just going to change this to a 25% to first up here. And we'll change this to 10% randomness for any lineups we finish out with the optimizer. But this is what I like as a core for Stafford stacks. Stafford, Nacua, and Adams. Don't necessarily think you need to have a run back from the Bears, but Loveland's the one who makes the most sense. Going to plug him in. Also, just generally one of the top tight end options here. So let's go Stafford, Nacua, Adams, Colston, Loveland. And now what does that give us for salary? $44.80 remaining. So let's go cheap at defense. You know what's kind of interesting? Let's try plugging in some 49ers. The 49ers defense is horrendous and they're super banged up, but so is Darnold at this point. So let's actually try the 49ers. I think I'm going to end up liking the 49ers defense a little bit. And I'm very rarely opinionated on defenses to be rostering, but $2,200 for a defense against a quarterback who we're not really sure if he's capable of throwing the ball effectively with a oblique injury. Let's try the 49ers defense to save salary in a bunch of these lineups. And then also just kind of makes sense that we would get to McCaffrey if we can make the salary work. Let's try it. Can we go to McCaffrey here? That gives us only $3,800 left. All right. I don't think this will work, but let's try. All right. Wide receiver. Who can we go to for cheap? We've got Kirk at 4,100. So we're probably going to have to go cheap at tight end, right? So if we go to Tungus at the flex and make it a double tight end lineup. Yeah, that's not going to work. Not going to work. All right. No big deal. So instead, if we can't get to McCaffrey, let's go RJ Harvey. And let's go a little bit cheaper. We'll go James Cook instead. I'm not going to plug one of the Seattle running backs into this lineup because we already went with the 49ers defense. So that gives us a wide receiver and a flex spot left. Still not a ton of salary. So maybe we have to take James Cook out. But let's just see if we complete this on 10% randomness, what shows up in the final two spots. Demario Douglas and Tungus. All right. I guess we have to take Cook out as well. Let's see what we get to here. All right, I don't necessarily love having Charbonnet with the 49ers defense, but it's not the end of the world for a 4-game slate. So let's go to Stafford, Harvey, Charbonnet, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Khalil Shakur, Jake Tungus, Colston Loveland, the 49ers defense. Let's see what this ends up looking like. By the way, in chat, we've got here the Faceless Man said Darnold is playing. I think this could end up being much ado about nothing. So I mean, like, I kind of agree with you to an extent in terms of, like, I do think he's going to play, but I don't know how we can't take this into consideration, at least to something that matters a little bit. Like, the prop lines are plummeting on Sam Darnold. I bet it earlier at, 221.5 is, I think, what I posted to Tails, the under on his passing yards. And we now have it at, let's see, what is that prop now? Now it's at, yeah, so it's come down by about 5 yards and it continues to drop. I don't know how we could say that it makes zero difference. At the very least, I think it's something we should be considering. Just because he's starting doesn't mean he's going to be 100%. So this ended up coming out pretty well, by the way. 96.9% sim ROI. All right, let's move over to FanDuel. We'll build a lineup on the FanDuel side of things now. It would help if I press, there we go, FanDuel. So let's try FanDuel lineup out now. So for FanDuel, one thing that is a little bit annoying is that FanDuel has broken their slates up a little bit more than DraftKings did. But we'll go ahead. We'll build a lineup for the 2-game. And also the main slate is tomorrow for FanDuel, not even today. But yeah, we'll build a lineup for the Saturday through Sunday slate for FanDuel for this. And then if you guys have, other questions about FanDuel in general, I could address those as well. But yeah, kind of annoying when the slates are this much different. And the FanDuel main slate doesn't actually lock until tomorrow. But we'll also do a FanDuel lineup here. And I'll do it the other side of the Bears-Rams game. So I'm going to go to Caleb Williams. And I'm going to pair him with Colston Loveland. And then let's see where our wide receiver projections are at now for the Bears, guys. We have DJ Moore at 6.07. Roma Dunze at 7.01 and Luther Burden at 7.1. Burden's also the least expensive of all three. So I'm going to go to Burden as my other stacking partner. So we'll go to a double stack, Caleb Williams and Luther Burden. Now let's run this back with Nacua. So this will be our core game stack, Caleb Williams, Luther Burden, Puka Nacua, and Colston Loveland. That gives us 6120. All right, so let's go to the running back spot now. Let's go Harvey. Let's see if we put in McCaffrey, that gives us 40. Just going to try one more time. Let's see if we can make it work on FanDuel. If we complete the lineup with this, with Caleb Williams instead of Stafford, though, on FanDuel, what does it give us? We get to Caleb Williams, Christian McCaffrey, RJ Harvey, Puka Nacua, Luther Burden, Pat Bryant, who I don't hate for this slate on FanDuel. He's fairly cheap, 4,900. Dalton Schultz, Colston Loveland, and the Bills defense. Let's see how this looks on FanDuel. FanDuel looks like this is a little bit easier to manage the multiple pay-up options. Yeah, solid, 86.7% sim ROI. Okay. All right, I dig it. See, we got a super chat here. It's our guy, Miami Mike. He wants to build a Stafford lineup out. So let's go back over to DraftKings and plug this one in for Mike. All right. We've got Stafford with Charbonnet and Harvey. Okay. Charbonnet and Harvey you went with. Why can I not? Oh, there's Charbonnet. I'm blind right now. And then at wide receiver, you got a double stack. I love it. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I do think in general, it makes the most sense to do double stacks with Matt Stafford. He just has no rushing upside at all. And then also Puka Nacua. I know he scored more touchdowns lately. In general, though, it's Devontae Adams who has more of the touchdown equity. So my preference when I'm playing Stafford is to make these double stacks with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. You've also gone with Bryant in this lineup. Okay. $3,900. I like him a little bit more on FanDuel, but certainly playable on DraftKings as well. Double tight end. You went Loveland and you went Tungis. Okay. I like this lineup, by the way. I presume this is going to sim out well. Go Jake Tungis. And then you've got the Patriots defense. Cool. So full lineup: Stafford, Harvey, Charbonnet, Nacua, Adams, Pat Bryant, Colston Loveland, Jake Tungis, Patriots defense. This should be a positive sim ROI. I think this is a good lineup. I think this one's good. 52.1% sim ROI. Okay. Nice. Solid. No issues with that at all. Looks good, Miami Mike. I said roll that one out. Then we got Ankle Breaker. Ankle Breaker's got a Brock Purdy lineup. Let's check this one out. He is going with Brock Purdy, JSN, and Nacua. Okay, so both the pay up wide receivers. JSN, Nacua. Then you went Tungis at tight end. Okay. Interesting. So you're going a Brock Purdy single stack with no McCaffrey. All right, so you do not want McCaffrey in this lineup. Let's see what we can do to make this work. So if you're not going to go to McCaffrey, I think he's going to get a massive amount of passing work. I think presumably you probably want one other pass catcher other than Jake Tungis. Let's see what we could get to. All right, so let's go to San Francisco. Do we go? I guess Jennings does make the most sense, particularly in our projections. So let's go to Jennings. So we're going to go Jennings and Tungis. You've got JSN as a run back. All right. So defense now. What works at defense for us? I guess we go the Bills at 2,600 in this lineup. And then let's try optimizing it with 10% randomness and see what else that fits in for us. Purdy, Harvey, Charbonnet, Nacua, JSN, Jennings, Tungis, Barner, and the Bills defense. All right, so pretty heavy game stack. We'll see how it comes out. And this is solid 42.8% sim ROI. All right, Ankle Breaker, looking good with that kind of build that you've got going there. So I also want to try building out a CJ Stroud lineup. I guess we should try a Darnold lineup as well. I just worry a little bit about the volatility of the situation, how hard that's going to be to capture that right now in our projections without there being all that much information. And yeah, like I don't think, like I said at the top, if you guys are just joining now, I don't think Darnold is going to end up being the most popular quarterback. That is currently where he's projected to be. Okay, we got a couple more super chats in here. All right. For the FanDuel side of things, we've got a lineup here from Jesher, and he is going with Stafford at QB. Let's see, which slate is this for? Stafford, Williams, Harvey. Okay, so it has to be for the full slate then. These FanDuel slates are going to give me a migraine. It's massively annoying. All right, so this one is Stafford with Kyron Williams and Harvey. Okay. Harvey, Kyron Williams. Then at wide receiver, you went Nacua, Burden, and Kirk. Okay. Kirk at wide receiver. And then you went with Burden. At tight end, you've got Colston Loveland. At the flex spot, you went to Colby Parkinson. What's Okay, so Parkinson is 5,100. What is Higbee on FanDuel? 4,900. Okay. I do slightly prefer getting to Higbee at a cheaper price point, but you've got Parkinson in here, so let's plug him in. And then you've got the 49ers defense at $4,200 left. Gives you $300 in salary left. So if we have to make any kind of upgrades, if this comes out negative, we got a little bit of salary to play with. But we'll see. Yeah, negative 13% sim ROI. Let's try this. Let's take out Parkinson and the 49ers defense. I mean, you've already got a double stack here with Stafford. So let's try it without there being Parkinson. Instead, that got us Pat Bryant and the Seahawks defense. All right, does this sim out a little bit better? The other one was negative. Does this get it to positive? We just changed the flex spot and we changed out the defense. Positive now. Not massively so, but at least it's a positive there for you, Jesher. All right, we've got a Josh Allen lineup from D Sway. So let's plug in Josh Allen. We haven't done a Josh Allen lineup yet. And then I'll also pull up Discord to see if there was any Discord questions. Yes, there's one from Lucky. So I'll answer this. It's not a lineup related question, just a general question. He wants to know, do I up the amount of uniques on a 4-game slate, preferred number of uniques? Yes. So in general, when it is a smaller slate, I do think about Showdown, for instance. I go a little bit heavier with my uniques for Showdowns than I do for like an NBA main slate or an NFL main slate or something like that. Helps me get to some of the really low-owned players who otherwise don't show up in lineups, like Blake Corum, for instance, this week. Not somebody who shows up in the Sims, really, if you just play a handful of lineups and don't make any adjustments. But if you put it on, say, like 3 uniques and you do a little bit of an ROI boost to Blake Corum, then you'll show up in more lineups. For me, I'm probably most apt to do 3 uniques. I haven't finalized my lineup, so it kind of depends what some of the Sim ROIs look like. But yeah, 3 uniques is what I'm most apt to go to on a slate like this. All right, so what's this lineup? D-Sway, Josh Allen. Let's plug it in. Josh Allen, who'd you end up stacking it with? You went with, Naked. Okay. RJ Harvey and Kyron Williams at running back. So you got Harvey as a run back. Wide receiver, you went to Adams, Kupp, and Nakua. So definitely a different sort of looking build because you've got a triple Ram stack with no Stafford and then a naked Josh Allen. That might impact the Sim ROI a little bit, but we'll see. You got Tungus in here as well. And then at the defense, you went to the 49ers. Okay. I think this is going to come out negative, not because the individual, I mean, I could be wrong also. I don't think the problem with this lineup, if it has one, is the individual players. Yeah, it's okay, 12.2%. So it's not quite negative, but you have 3 Rams players in here and then naked Josh Allen. So let's see if instead of Adams and Kupp, let's change this. Let's go instead of Adams and Kupp, let's go to Shakir in one of these lineup spots. All right. And that is going to give us $4,900 left. Who fits in for $4,900? Nobody all that appealing. All right. Let's see. What if we take out the 49ers defense and complete the lineup with these 2 spots left? What do we get to? Josh Allen, RJ Harvey, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Khalil Shakir, Pat Bryant, Jake Tungus, Colston Loveland, and the Seahawks defense. Let's sim this out and see if it comes up higher than the other one that we had, which was positive, but only marginally. Yeah, this made it look a lot better. 26.5% sim ROI. So in summation, what did we do? We gave you a stacking partner in Josh Allen, who went to Khalil Shakir, and then you no longer have a triple stack of the Rams without Stafford. In general, if I'm going to be making a lineup that is 3 skill position players from the same team, I'm probably going to want their quarterback in that lineup as well. But there's little improvements that made to your lineup there, D-Sway. Shout out to Justin. Justin Clark here took down the $4 20 max last night for my biggest score ever. The Huff call was great. He was the nuke of the night last night. Appreciate the work you guys put in here, and cheers. Shout out to you, Justin. Love to see when you guys win. If you haven't done it yet, tweet at me. And then also we get you in the Hall of Fame program. We get you a free month of The Sims. So if you won with the Stokastic avatar, make sure to tweet it at us so that we could show it off and we could get you a free month. And anybody else, if you do want to get yourself in the Hall of Fame program, just make sure you're playing with the Stokastic avatar. If you finish in the top 3 of a large field GPP without ties, at me, at Lofty and Ben, because they want to see it as well, and they're sitting here waiting to go on. Tag at Stokastic HOF, and then you hit up support, and News God will hook you up with a free month. But shout out to you, Justin. Love to see when you guys win some tournaments. Miami Mike, another Stafford lineup. Let's do it. All right. How is this different than the other one you built? Trying to remember. Let's scroll up a little bit. All right. The other lineup you had was Stafford, Charbonnet, Harvey. Okay. So all the same so far. Puka and Adams, still the same. What did you... Oh, okay. So you played Higgins and the Broncos defense in this lineup instead of Bryant and the Patriots defense. Okay. So you switch up the flex and the defense, but everything else is the same. Let's run this. So you've got Stafford, Charbonnet, and Harvey. Interesting that you guys aren't building lineups with Christian McCaffrey. I thought we would see a little bit more of him in the lineups you guys built, particularly when he's 60% owned, but none of you guys have been rostering him so far. Charbonnet and Harvey. Then at wide receiver, Nakua and Adams. With who is the final... Wait, I'm actually a little... Oh, Jaden. Okay, so it was Jaden Higgins. I was looking at it. Okay, my bad. All right, so Jaden Higgins, and I was reading that as Higbee when I first looked at the lineup, when it was just Higg, but Higgins is what you wanted. So then at tight end, Loveland, Tungus in the flex. All right, and then you went with the Broncos defense. I think this should sim out probably pretty comparably to the other lineup you built. I don't think it'll look all that much different. The other one was fine. This one looks pretty fine to me as well. 41.6% sim ROI. All right. Yeah. I think, what was your other one off member? Like 55% or something. So same neighborhood, slightly different players, but about the same result. I think both lineups are good to roll out there, Mike. Ninja Black from the chat wants to know, how do I get lock-in sims? Just want to see how things look. If Darnold is out, can't get the pool to exclude him, I think you mean. Okay, so here's what you want to do. Build out your lineups and then give a really significant negative ROI boost to Sam Darnold. You don't want to take Sam Darnold out of your pool entirely. What you want to do, if you don't want to roster him, build out your lineups, and then when you're at the sim portion, go to your ROI boost, and I'll send you a video, and I'll help you out with this afterwards in chat as well. I'll be done in 2 minutes on my portion of the show. Then I'm going to be handing it over to Ben and Lofty. Go to the players and go to ROI boost. You'll see the player management. It says players right on the screen. And then ROI boost, just give Darnold like a negative 100 or negative 200% ROI boost. And that should take him out of pretty much all of your lineups. I think that's what you mean. But yeah, I'll follow up with you in chat after we're done here to really make sure I understood. All right, couple more lineups to build here. We got one here from G. Fisher. Great show. Can you throw a couple FanDuel lineup sims up there? Yes, absolutely. We actually, if you want to scroll back a little bit, I did build some FanDuel lineups as well. I think we've done, 2 FanDuel lineups now? I think I've made 2 FanDuel lineups. But yeah, I could build another FanDuel lineup here as well. I'll go to also for which slate, because they got all these dumb slates here on FanDuel. I'm going to go to the Saturday Sunday one, because presumably you're looking for a lineup for a slate that's locking shortly. But let's go to, so we built out a Stafford lineup and a Caleb Williams lineup for FanDuel. We haven't built out a Drake May lineup on DraftKings or FanDuel yet, so let's try plugging in Drake May. I'm going to stack him with Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs. And we'll run it back with Christian Kirk, who we have only projected for 9% ownership on FanDuel at a really cheap price point as well. So at least as of now in our data, Kirk not expected to be popular. So let's go to May, Diggs, and Henry. We're going to run it back with Christian Kirk. At defense, Let's go to the 49ers for now, just to give us the maximum salary savings. And now I want to plug in McCaffrey. We haven't really built McCaffrey lineups. Tried to at the top. It was hard to fit him in with Nakua when we were building out the DraftKings lineups. But let's go to McCaffrey and Harvey at running back. So that gives us 6,650 for 2 lineup spots left. So I'll use the optimizer to complete it. That gives us Shakir and Kenneth Walker. Let's see how this comes out. Does have $400 in salary left on the table, so potentially some ability to upgrade some spots, but we'll see if it comes out positive. First, Drake May lineup. All right, 51.7%, so that ended up working. Drake May stacking with Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs. And then we've got one more lineup to plug in here, and then we're going to hand this over to Ben and Laufey. And I'm very interested to listen to what they have to say about the Seahawks game, what they're going to be doing tonight with Sam Darnold and the passing game situation for the Seahawks. But this is Hunter Schwartz bringing us home. Hunter has the final lineup to be built on the show, and it is a Brock Purdy stack. Okay, so you went Brock Purdy with Christian McCaffrey and Blake Corum. All right, cool. First Corum lineup. We don't have Corum projected all that well. I personally like Corum more than our data. So we said we only have him projected for 2% ownership. I like being overweight to him. Puka Nacua. You got Ricky Pearsall and Shakir. I think we need a little bit more information on Pearsall. Another pretty dicey option for tonight. You've got Tungus in here as well. So I'm pretty sure this isn't going to have a positive sim ROI, but I actually don't hate this lineup. A lot of it's going to be because of the uncertainty with Pearsall and then also the low projection we have on Corum. But I do think Corum's a pretty decent contrarian option. And then you've got the Bills defense. Okay. That leaves just $100 in salary left on the table. So this is good. We made it through an entire show. 0 lineups that went over the salary restriction. That's always good. All right, negative 32.4%. I know this came out negative. I really don't mind this lineup, though, Hunter. Maybe you might have to take a Ricky Pearsall out, just depending what kind of additional news we get, whether he'll be limited or even playing at all or anything like that. So the Pearsall, that piece is a little dicey, but Corum, I'm cool with giving Corum a little bit of a projection upgrade in our data and maybe downgrading Kyron a little bit or giving an ROI boost to Blake Corum or negative ROI boost to Kyron Williams. I just think they're much closer than what our data has them, where we've got Kyron Williams from nearly 2x as many fantasy points as Blake Corum. But that is going to do it for me, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't go anywhere. For the next hour, Ben and Laufey on the deep dive, followed by Spags and Eric on Live Before Lock. So 2 more hours of football coverage coming your guys' way. Enjoy the slate. Have a great weekend as well. Later, guys.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Deeper Dive. Feels weird doing it this time. Saturday afternoon. It's odd. Got a bunch of snow today here. I don't know about you, Ben. It was good packing snow, though. That heart attack snow. I built a 6-foot snowman in the front yard. The kids were
you've been busy. Good for you.
Yeah, I threw my back out, too. This fucker was big. Yeah. It's good stuff, man. But we're here, and we're talking football. And we got 4-game slate Saturday, Sunday, and a quarterback in tonight's game who is expected to play, but we have zero idea in what capacity. So that makes things fun. I don't think either of us anticipated that being the case today.
No, I was under the assumption that being on the bye would help you, but somehow I don't know what Seattle's been doing. They injured themselves during the bye week, so it's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to do this. I almost missed. I can't get used to this time. I'm not going to lie. I almost missed
See,
the
it's
show.
weird.
It's very weird, but these are elite. These are four of the best games I can remember where there are no. I know the Niners are walking wounded, but don't count them out. I did last week, and we saw what happened.
Yeah, we're just dumb for thinking the Eagles could fix that offense. But also, you're right. I said the same thing. Like, if I had been betting this game at 7.5, I don't think I'm laying 7.5 on the Seahawks. And maybe I should be. It's moved to 6.5 in some spots. Who knows how much of that has to do with Stafford? But no, I'm with you. Also, it's the third time these teams are facing each other this year. Don't you think that some type of familiarity can make a difference in games like this, especially when you do have, like, credit to Shanahan, credit to Robert Saleh. They do have good coaching, and that can't always make up for it. Seattle's defense is stellar. We already know that. Like, Seattle has a fantastic defense, but the question really is, and we'll get into it, but, like, what should we expect out of Sam Darnold? And I'm not sure anybody has a great answer. But the line hasn't moved much. All those 6.5s you see out there are minus 125. So standard number across the board is pretty much a 7. It's not like you've seen this line crater at all, even after we got that news.
And I think it just shows kind of what Sam Darnold. This is not related as much to the slate as much to the game. Sam Darnold doesn't need to go and win the game. He needs to not lose the game. And I think the books are saying even if he's limited, ironically, that might help them because it's just like, okay, let's condense it even more. Let's lean on the defense. We'll lean on the dual backfield, and we'll get out of there because Sam Darnold throwing the ball 40 times today would be a recipe for disaster, whether he was healthy or not. That's not what they want to do.
Jeff says that's because bettors don't hate lock. I'll be honest, Jeff. I don't think that's what it is. And I know I don't want to hurt Ben's feelings here because he's a big Drew Lock guy. I've seen Drew Lock play some games and just stink. Like, is he willing to air the ball out? Sure. Caution to the wind. The guy plays with reckless abandon. We know that. But say all you want about Sam Darnold and the ghost seeing in New York and last year in Minnesota with the Rams game and just falling to pieces. He's still a significant upgrade from Drew Lock. I do not care what anybody says. I'm the same one out there that was telling you that Davis Mills can go out there and win games without CJ Stroud, right? And that Brock Purdy is not all that much better. I didn't say that. Not all that much better, but what the hell is his name? Now I can't.
Mac Jones?
Mac Jones. Yeah, I always want to say Drake May. What I'm saying, though, is if it turned out, Ben, let me put it to you. If it turned out that Drew Lock was starting, this line would absolutely move below 7, below 6.
No doubt. And so we'll just see. I think, obviously, to the DFS side, I don't know how much interest I had in Darnold, but he's going to be crazy low owned now. And there is a chance that this is overblown and he's relatively fine. But I don't know. I mean, that's going to be.
Do you think he will be low owned? Like, do you think this is going to affect his ownership to the point where? Because, well, I say that because we had him projected as one of the highest owned quarterbacks prior to all of this.
I don't see. And Chad, tell me. I mean, we got a lot of people in here, a lot of sharp players. Is anybody playing Darnold today? Obviously, assuming he's ruled in. With the information we have, would you play him? Because
I would.
I haven't seen any of that.
I for sure would.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong there. I think people are going to say we have 7 other, maybe 6, no offense, Stroud, really good quarterbacks. I'm not messing around with this. You look at the chat. I don't think people are going to play him.
Interesting. Keith says he's in 2 out of 10. I mean, that's still 20%.
Yep.
You still have JSN. I'd still play him. That again, though, when I say I'd still play him, it means I'm not Xing him out of my player pool. That's different than, I'm going to get 60% Sam Darnold. I'm not saying that at all. But
will he be your lowest owned quarterback, you think?
No.
See,
No,
yeah,
no. I mean, I would still prefer Sam Darnold over Stroud and Purdy.
yeah. Listen. I get it. I do think a lot of people who are on the fence are gonna say, I will just build. I'll take a JSN. I'll take a Walker. Even like a cup or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just I'm not going to stack them. I'll go in a one-off and go to a different quarterback. I think that's going to be what we're going to see when this locks.
I get that. And look, here's the other way I look at it though, right? And this may kind of put things in perspective for you, at least at where I kind of stand on this. Even if he's not playing, or it turns out like you see him at warmups and things look really bad, it's like, all right, I have to pivot. Okay, so that means I can still pivot to Stafford or Caleb Williams or Drake May. I mean, or Stroud if you want. I don't think Stroud's crazy, just given that last week everyone watched him fumble 5 times, lose 2 of them, get picked off in the red zone. I still think there's an argument that even Stroud is viable on a 4-game slate. Actually, I know there's an argument to be made.
Oh, yeah.
It's like without Nico, that's a team that I think people are going to want to back away from. But I don't think it's all that dire. If this was just a Saturday game slate and we only had 2 games to choose from, would I rather just play, I don't know, Bo Nix over Stafford or over Darnold, or just build lineups with Josh Allen or something? Yeah, but tomorrow's game, and you already mentioned this right at the top, tomorrow's games, they have some good quarterbacks. Second game has a high total despite the cold weather. I don't think it's really all that much of a deal breaker in the event that he doesn't play.
I don't know. Tim not playing is an easy fix.
Yeah.
What I think people are not going to want to deal with is when they say Sam Darnold is active and will start. That's it.
Well, they should get ready for that because I'm pretty sure that's what's coming.
He's playing. I don't think that, I mean, what do I know? But I would be absolutely floored if he's not playing. But we might find out pretty quickly that he throws the ball 16 times and they win this game, 13-3. I don't think that that's crazy. And then Larry, I think, just brought up, friend of the show, by the way. I think this is more important to me. But I'm trying to go ahead, Bob. All right, you handle the comments.
Let me run the show.
Fine. You know what? I'm trying to take initiative around here. Won't happen again.
I know you're trying. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you negative boost JSN? Because I saw a couple comments already that saying JSN's unplayable, which I strongly disagree with. But
no, I would not.
I would not either.
I would not. I mean, if you have a guy in Drew Lock out there, think about this for a second. A guy in Drew Lock is going to be more likely to target the guy that is always open. When you have a backup quarterback come into games, they typically target the player that's always open. And JSN he's just always open. So I understand that. I think it's actually a really good question. And, you make your own decisions there, of course. But if you're asking me, no. If it happens to be Drew Lock, I hope people negatively boost JSN. I hope people want to get away from JSN. I definitely won't be doing that. Drew Lock, I'm sitting here saying, hey, he's not great, which is true, but he's also not trash, right? Like, this is not Quinn Ewers coming in to, or any of these other guys that we saw late in the season, Brady Cook, or, name one of these guys. That's not who it is. This is still someone that started a lot of games in this league. Number one, has been a quality backup and will still, in my opinion, be able to get the ball to a guy like JSN because JSN makes it really easy to get him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I can rattle off a lot of examples. Flacco comes to mind when he got to Cincy and he gave Jamar Chase like 25 targets. Sometimes when these backups come in, they're just like, okay, I'll simplify it. I'll throw it to our best player. And Drew Lock, I'm a big fan, so I'm probably overrating him, but I think he would be fine. They're at home. He's got weapons. He's another one. He doesn't need to win the game. He needs to not lose the game. So We'll see. There's a lot of questions. It's a fascinating slate because normally when we talk about short slates like this, we say basically salary is borderline irrelevant. Salary is extremely relevant with all the firepower that we've got. You've got so many weapons and you really need to find savings even on a 4-game slate.
Yeah, you're going to. And we'll talk about all of that. As always, happy to have you guys here. If you don't mind, take a second this fine, I was going to say morning. It's not morning. It's not evening. It's an odd afternoon time. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Goes a long way. We appreciate you for it. Plus, it's free. And, good things happen to you when you do good things for others, especially when it only takes a second. But no, somebody said that Darnold apparently hasn't thrown a football since their last game. I saw he hasn't thrown a football since Thursday. Today's Saturday. It's also very possible that this team, who is coming off of a bye, right, with the 1 seed in the NFC, Ben, I'm just throwing this out there. You got to consider it from every angle. It's also very possible that it happened on Thursday and, it didn't feel great. Let's get him some treatment because he's practiced. He's already practiced, and they say just shut him down for a day. Shut him down for a day or two, and he'll be okay, instead of going out there and risking anything. For all we know, that this is precautionary.
100%, because this is not something where it was like he's been hurt and we got to see him play hurt and now we're assessing it. There could be gamesmanship here. He could be completely fine. The other thing that's going to happen, as always happens, if he plays horrible, people will say that he's hurt. And if he plays fine, people will assume that he is fine. And the truth is probably in the middle. But yeah, I mean, again, these decisions are going to lead into your stacks clearly. If you play Darnold, you're not playing him for rushing upside. So I don't see how you play him without JSN. And then you're probably going to look to that backfield. So Seattle's a fascinating team. It's another unknown. I've never seen a 4-game slate with like 10 legitimate questions like this.
The other question I want to get to, and we'll run this format a little differently than we usually do, because I don't think it actually makes sense to go game by game on a slate like this. And then you have the lie before lock coming up next. I assume it's Eric and Spags. Is it the typical crew? It's the same crew?
Yes, sir.
Cool. The Christian McCaffrey piece, right? Like, we already know that Puka Nacua, I don't know about you, but I couldn't really care less about the weather in Chicago. I've been tracking that. And by tracking that, I mean going on a weather app and looking at the hour by hour. So pretty rudimentary stuff there. But it says 18 degrees, 10, 12 mile per hour winds, Ben. So nothing insane. And then it's like snow showers in the forecast right now. So that's nothing. It's nothing. These guys can play in cold. I said it earlier this week for any of you guys that watch the strategy shows, that people saying Stafford can't play in the cold, or this, that couldn't be further from the truth. The only team that gave the Eagles somewhat of a scare, and it was a legitimate scare last year, when they steamrolled every other team, the Packers, the Commanders, the reigning champ, Kansas City Chiefs. It wasn't even a good Super Bowl. Well, for me it was, but maybe for you it wasn't. They just steamrolled everybody. The Rams were in position to win that game on the final drive until Jalen Carter just completely blew up the line and took care of it.
I remember.
Right. And then it was that final throw to Puka that went over his head because there was more pressure. What I'm saying is there was a ton of snow in that game. You remember, cold as hell, windy, lots of snow. Stafford was fine. So these are professional players. These are veterans. Unless it's like insane weather,
it's not going to be.
It's not going to be. And another thing, the other team still has to, if it were terrible weather, the other team still has to play in terrible weather, which is still unusual to them. So I don't buy into it. I think Puka Nacua, obviously a phenomenal play. I say all of that to ask about Christian McCaffrey. Does he end up being the odd man out for you among the top priced players in the Kua, JSN, and McCaffrey?
I don't know about the odd man out, but last week it felt like my take on McCaffrey, I really liked the Eagles in the game, and I still had a ton of McCaffrey because it felt like he couldn't fail, even with a bad game script potentially, because the floor is so high between the rushing and the receiving. It's similar in that mindset, but the opportunity cost is much higher. So I'm just in our data hub right now, poking around, and McCaffrey, probably to no one's surprise, is still getting a ton of ownership. He might be the highest owned player on the slate. I'm not surprised by that, but I don't think it's as easy as a plug and play as it was last week, I guess, because I look at this, No Kittle. Clearly, the volume, he can't get much more volume than he's already got. The efficiency is going to continue to drop. He's been phenomenal against Seattle and in the playoffs. So, yes, I'm going to get a healthy amount of McCaffrey, but the question isn't how much am I getting? It's how much am I getting against the field? And to get over the field, you might have to have, 75% McCaffrey, 60% McCaffrey, something in those lines. So, Nakua, if I had to rank if you want to call them the big three, I would have Puka 1, McCaffrey 2, but closer to JSN than to Puka.
Is McCaffrey 2 still if Darnold plays?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
So you have McCaffrey over JSN regardless. That's just because you never get JSN right, and you're just gun shy on it.
There's nothing that can happen with JSN that's going to help me. The other part of this is opportunity cost in position scarcity. So I think running back is pretty deep. I really like RJ Harvey today. I think that James Cook has a better matchup, even though it's not a great matchup. I certainly think that the Seattle backs are in play. You want to tell me you want to play Kyron or to a lesser extent Corum, I wouldn't push back. All of those are Christian McCaffrey, obviously. Then you go to wide receiver. Of course, there are plays, but to me, there is a big two of JSN and Puka. It's pretty clear to me that that's the order. You know what I mean? So it's a little different. If you play Christian McCaffrey, obviously you could play 3 running backs, but you are burning, I think, a more important position in this slate than if you're playing a wide receiver range that I don't really love the mid-range. There'll be guys that perform, but it's not the best situation I've ever seen.
So I'll say this much. Given that right now McCaffrey, Puka, and JSN all have very similar ownership, I'm going Puka, JSN, McCaffrey. 1, 2, 3, like that. I'd put McCaffrey 3. Supreme Juice says Stafford record in snow games is 1-9 for what it's worth. I mean, look, I haven't looked at that, but I'd have to ask how many of those games were in the NFC North when he was on just straight dog shit Lions teams. I mean, terrible, terrible Lions teams.
Yeah.
You would have to think a lot of them, right?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, he had some years in there where his record in any games was 1-9.
Yeah, right.
You know, so I get it. I think it's a fair point for sure. The team total, you want to look at the defenses. The Bears defense gives up yards in bunches. I don't worry about Stafford any more than if he was playing, a dome would be ideal, but it's not that much different than playing in a variety of cities, I think.
Also, no one's saying that they can't lose this game. Of course they can.
No one's saying you can't play bad. I just don't know if it'll be because it's cold.
Exactly. I just don't care if it's because it's cold. I mean, last year in that Philly game, he threw for 324 with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's that's just a good game. It's a good game, and that's on a good team with a quality coaching staff. Nakua had 6 for 97. Demarcus Robinson had 3 for 74. There were, 3 guys with 60, 50, 4 guys with 50 plus receiving yards in that game. So I'm not really all that worried about it, honestly. It's not something. Plus, we don't care really if the Rams win. Truthfully, if you're stacking Stafford and they end up going down 14 points early, you should be thrilled.
Just like, I mean, who has it better than Caleb Williams? The guy plays basically full-on hurry-up offense, catch-up mode for 3.5 quarters of the game? I mean, that's the ideal game script for any quarterback. If you're rostering him, is that he has to drop back 50 times because even in a bad game, he's probably going to accumulate a lot of raw stats, which is what you're after.
Yeah. Trevor, I'm so sick of the Stafford propagandists that say those Lions teams were always so bad. Yes, my sole purpose in life is to propagandize.
Those teams, early Stafford teams were horrendously bad.
Was he on the 016?
I have no idea. They were just, when they got him, they clearly were awful for obvious reasons because they drafted him. But he's been in the league for quite a while. I'm sure he was on.
It was Dan Orlovsky after John Kitna. And then, I remember this. It was also Dante Culpepper.
I don't remember that.
I do. I remember Dante Culpepper. I actually remember that season well now that I think about it. Yeah, 2008. 2008. So then Stafford had to have come in like right after that.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't know, but
yeah, it was 2008, man. He came in 2000. God, I don't know. How long has he been in the league for?
it's been
2009. Yeah, 2009 was his next year. But anyway, I mean, look, it doesn't matter. I'd say this, though. Whether you believe it or not, Matthew Stafford, they still have the highest total on the slate. It's probably higher now than the Seattle Seahawks.
I would think so. I mean, that game has less question marks, and whether it's right or wrong, I think that most people, and listen, it's hard to argue, think that the Bears game is going to be out of control, because they're all out of control. And the Bears have been the best dance partner for pretty much anyone you could ask for. Even the Packers last week. Like, I know they're all gone in best ball, but Dobbs to Love to all those guys. I know Jacobs didn't have a good game, but they were racking up a ton of production before it all fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good game, that one right there. And I don't know what to do with the pass catchers for the Bears. I mean, I know what to do with the pass catchers for LA. You're going to get to Puka. I think Devontae Adams at his price point is really good. I mean, he saw a ton of targets last week. They just didn't really connect, and wasn't a big game, but he's been so involved inside the 5-yard line as the primary passing game target for Matthew Stafford. Led the league in touchdowns, in receiving touchdowns this year, and missed 3 games to close out the year. I mean, just everything about Devontae at 6,500 to me looks good. Obviously, Puka Nacua looks good. You can see it in the Sims. I have 3 uniques favorited. So watch this. With 3 uniques favored, which means you're going to smooth exposures out and not be too heavy on any individual players. We have 52% Nacua, 47% JSN, 37% Adams. Let's see, 70% Harvey, 55% McCaffrey. Ben, if I go and I take this and I remove the uniques, and I just say, you know what? I just want the top lineups, top 150 lineups. Harvey actually, this is surprising, very surprising. Harvey actually comes down, and wow, usually when I do this, you know this, we do it every show, exposures come up considerably on those guys that you're already getting a lot to. All of this actually remains flat.
And that, I think, speaks to the uniqueness of the slate. What normally happens when you do that is the cheap, can't miss value running back or ridiculously priced guy is basically in every lineup. But in this slate, there really isn't that guy where everyone is just like, okay, this guy is going to be like, sure, you have a value tight end on the Niners. I don't feel good about that at all. Like, I'm not saying he's not playable, but he's certainly no plug and play. And I think the same goes for everyone. RJ Harvey is one of my favorite plays on the slate, but if you told me he doesn't score and he has a middling game, I wouldn't say you're out of your mind. So I am still surprised, Luffy, but I think when we think about it, actually in this slate, it makes a little more sense.
No, that's a good point. Well, yeah, that's the thing with Harvey. I mentioned this to, I think, Greg on either Friday or Wednesday, that you have RJ Harvey, but he's not, and this is what you're saying, he's not a sure thing at all. And he's the highest exposed. Honestly, as good as Christian McCaffrey is, he's not a sure thing either on a slate like this. Look at the other running backs that we're talking about here. And I do want to move this to 3 uniques now, just so we can possibly get a few others to pop up for us and see what we're getting at. If not, I can just go into the projections. But think of the timeshares on this slate. Let's just work through the teams, okay? San Francisco, no. Seattle, yes. Walker and Charbonnet essentially in a 50-50 split. Buffalo, not really. It's James Cook, but also they didn't really use him all that much in the passing game last game, which was shocking to me. I had some bets out that he would get involved a lot more in the passing game, and he did not. And that was kind of tough. So
also, though, sorry, before you keep going, timeshare, no. Quarterback with serious rushing upside, yes.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, great point. And then Ty Johnson, still waiting on news there, unless you've seen anything. I haven't seen anything. Let me make sure if anything popped up while we were doing the show.
I was under the assumption he was playing, but I honestly don't know.
He was headed in the right direction from everything I saw. Not in a walking boot. He's out there at warmups. So actually, Ty Johnson is inactive today. That was tweeted 9 seconds ago.
All right. I mean, I don't think it does much for the slate, but it just consolidates. I mean, the Bills, their pass catchers, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't even particularly like Shakir today, but seriously, who are going to get these targets? It almost has to be him at this point.
Do you know who I know you'll appreciate this because you have to get gross. And I've had a pretty decent track record on King of the End Zone bets recently. Did you see who my King of the End Zone bet was?
I did not.
Would you
Keon Coleman.
Would you say it again?
Did you say Keon? I said Keon Coleman.
There it is, dude.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, you'd say, okay, you've got Cooks, Keon Coleman. I don't really know what's going on with Curtis Samuel. We just had a super chat about that, which appreciate it. Saying from Mr. Toff, interesting Curtis Samuel and Hutchinson pairing. That seems a little aggressive. I actually like Hutchinson this week. I just don't know if you need two of them in the lineup. If you do, you can jam the studs, but that's a lot of risk because those guys' floors are literally zero.
Well, I also just don't understand the point of the pairing. Like, there's no connection there, right? So this is just, can I play two cheap wide receivers, basically?
Yeah, I mean, they're in different games.
Brand said I'd rather try Samuel. I don't have an issue with Sam. I actually don't have a huge problem with Samuel. I like Coleman for King of the End Zone better because the guy does have – he has 3 of his last 6 games, a reception of 35-plus yards. Brand Joy says Cooks. Yeah, Brandon Cooks obviously comes into the mix here. There's no doubt about that. And I think, Brandon Cooks, I don't know how popular he's going to be, Ben, but I will say this. I really thought he'd be more popular than the 6% we're projecting for right now.
I think he will be.
I do too. Because if you look at, let's do this, right? I'm just going to go to salary here of the guys that we're getting any exposure to. Pop Douglas, all right, you're not getting a lot of him. Xavier Hutchinson having more ownership than Cooks is surprising to me. And I get it. There's no Nico Collins. So, all of that makes sense. But Josh Allen doesn't have anybody to throw to either. Yeah, he has Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid, but can we stop acting like Dalton Kincaid's a double-digit target guy? Not you, and not anyone today specifically in chat, but I see it all the time where people are like, yeah, Dalton Kincaid, dude, he's the guy. Look, I think he's good, but when's the last time Dalton Kincaid has just been like the primary go-to guy in a game like this? It doesn't happen. The most targets he has in a game this year, this is nuts, is 6. He has 6 targets. That's his highest targets in a game. And he doesn't have 6 targets since week 9. So maybe against the Broncos team that's very good on the outside, and like maybe they scheme ways to get their tight end the ball more, which I think is entirely possible. But you haven't seen it yet where Kincaid just ends up being a 10 target, even an 8 target guy.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he's going to have to be pretty busy today. But to your point, don't think that Dawson Knox can't vulture. Like they run a weird, but when Buffalo was healthy, they were one of the most frustrating teams to talk about with the everyone eats mantra. And you've got an absolute monster in James Cook, and you have Josh Allen, who we saw last week, who said, I'll handle it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I personally think they're going to lose today, even though I'm rooting for the Bills. He's going to have to do a lot. So, and in the Surtain thing, yes, he's an elite corner. I don't know if or who he would shadow. I mean, Shakir operates in the slot. Maybe he picks a side. I don't know. I don't think it's the biggest of deals, to be honest.
No, me neither, because they have a great slot corner too.
Denver's defense is just very strong. So, appreciate this. Thank you guys for all the great content. What are your favorite low-owned darts? Honestly, I like Hutchinson. I'm I think after the Kirk game, it's not to say you can't go back to him, but I don't think it's a given that it's him again. And honestly, that's a wide open team. Schultz is another tight end that we'll talk about, but I'm gonna take some shots on him, and maybe I don't know what to do with these non-Sutton Broncos wide receivers, Lafe. Pat Bryant, like Franklin. That's a real tough situation for me.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't. Dude, I don't think this is a situation where you just assume that Christian Kirk ends up getting all of the work. That's really hard for me to believe. Somebody who, yeah, he had a big game last. What's that?
Me too. I don't think that's a given at all.
No, he had a big game last time out, but it seems maybe they'll try and get in the ball. The one for me, you talk about Hutchinson. The one for me, and the matchup really sucks because Christian Gonzalez cleared concussion protocol. But Jaden Higgins is the one that stands out to me because if you look at the snap counts for these guys, people were asking me all week long about Jalen Nolan. I mean, who knows? Maybe he has a game, but it's not really indicative of what you'd see when Nico Collins is out. Nico Collins being out really ramps up the opportunities for guys like Hutchinson and Higgins, not Noel. Jalen Noel benefits the most when a guy like Christian Kirk is out because he's soaking up a lot of that slot work. The 2 games where he played more snaps than any week this season were the 2 that Christian Kirk was out. One of them was with Nico out, but the one with just Kirk, you saw Jalen Noel play almost 50% of snaps. He's come nowhere close to that. He played 6 snaps last week. So Kirk played 56%. Higgins played 46%. But the week before, when Nico Collins didn't play in week 18, Ben, what did you see? You saw Higgins play 81% of those snaps, 79% Hutchinson. So I just expect both of those guys to be out on the field a ton with no Nico Collins tomorrow.
Yeah, and again, it's a fluid situation. That's another very, a Texans team that has an identity that's not, it's defense. It's don't do what they did last week. Stroud was just trying to give the game away, but the Steelers are not equipped to take advantage of it. So I think that's where you can play some ownership games. And yeah, we'll see. It's definitely a Texans team that has a lot of unknowns, in my opinion.
AFC Angela. Oh, that's not completely true, Laffy. We did see increased snap share for Noel when Collins missed earlier this year, albeit not much of a difference. Well, no, the only game Nico Collins missed earlier this year, Christian Kirk also missed. And that's what I'm getting at. Christian Kirk was out that game. And if you look at the game prior, Nico Collins was in, and I believe he got hurt midway through that game. Jalen and Kirk was out, though. Jalen Noel played more snaps in that game where Nico Collins played than he did the following week where Collins and Kirk were both out. So, again, make your own decisions. All I'm saying is that the absence of Kirk has a much larger difference on Noel than Collins.
Yep. Again, this is why I love this slate, because we're really gonna we're forced. You cannot ignore those type of teams and build effective lineups. You just can't do it unless you game stack, which of course that's always an option. You're gonna have to confront Seattle, the Texans, the Bills, non-elite players, and find somebody to open up the salary.
Also, to your point, Powered One says, won't Higgins see a lot of Christian Gonzalez? To the same point Ben's making about you can't just ignore these teams. To answer your question, Powered One, yes, he probably will. But also, it's a 4-game slate. And I tend to worry a little bit less about matchups, especially if it's cheap guys like this, when it's a 4-game slate. Because what are your pivots, right? What happens when you start pivoting off of these guys? Who do you get to? You get to Brandon Cooks. You could say the same thing. Well, isn't Brandon Cooks going to see a decent amount of Patrick Surtain? Probably, especially on those deep routes. Aren't a lot of these guys going to see really tough matchups? Think about that, right? A lot of these guys, anybody from Houston is going to see pretty tough coverage. Anyone from New England is going to see extremely tough coverage against Houston. I mean, that team is insane defensively.
Yes.
And also, Buffalo, yes, they do have some injuries. Multiple players ruled out in the secondary, but still, that is their clear strength, not their run defense. So Ben, you can't even act like the Buffalo secondary is bad because they're one of the best in the league as well at slowing down opposing passing games. And then Seattle too. So you can't really look at it from that angle, especially when it's like, all right, well, what about San Francisco's defense? Sure, but we don't know what we're getting out of Sam Darnold either. I mean, you have one game that is very clearly skewed towards offense, or it should be based on the total, based on no real injuries. That's Chicago and the Rams. It's cold, but it doesn't seem to make a difference. But once you get past that, these are just all good defensive teams.
Yeah, I mean, Chad just pointed out the obvious, but it's a great point. This is the second round of the playoffs.
Yep.
The best teams in the league. These are the teams. They have really good players. It's also cold. So when you don't have that, you're going to have weather too. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, and injuries to Chad's point. I might be out there today for Buffalo. They had nobody left. Like, I know that some of these guys don't make an impact in our mindset because we don't roster them a lot, but Palmer, Shavers, Gabe Davis, all just gone in recent weeks. Like, they are down to nobody in the outside. And so
yeah,
it's fascinating, and there's value. A lot of people are asking the same question and appreciate it. Sub 4K, who would you go to if you had to take a cheapie?
Okay, so first of all, I'm with you on Hutchinson. I think that's fine. I think Cooper Kupp is fine.
That's what I was going to say as well.
What's that?
I was going to say Cooper Kupp too. Yeah.
You hate to just be like, these guys are fine, but I do really think a lot of it boils down to, do they fit the build? Are they a stack attachment? Something like that. If I'm stacking San Francisco, am I running it back with only Cooper Kupp? No, that seems crazy. But if I'm stacking Darnold, do I get to some Kupp? Absolutely. Or, if you have 3,500 remaining, are you getting to some Cooper Kupp? I absolutely think you should be. And I think we're saying the same thing, right? Is that some of these guys just, I don't want to use the term stand out because they certainly don't stand out, but they make sense. And I'll say, you know what? I think even a guy like Keon Coleman, if you're playing large field tournaments today, is not the craziest idea. If Josh Allen has to throw to somebody, and he's going to have to throw to somebody, then Keon Coleman could be okay. Someone, I think it was Lankese, said the white quarterback, the cornerback number 21 from Denver sucks, and they'll target him. He's talking about Riley Moss, by the way. Riley Moss had a great rookie season. He has not had a great season this year. You may see some Keon Coleman against him. All you need is potentially one at 3,500. I think it's gross, but if Keon Coleman had 2 for 50 and a touchdown, right? How many times, here's a fun question for you. How many times does 2 for 50 and a touchdown, because it's possible, beat out Demario Douglas and Hutchinson and Cooper Kupp and Pat Bryant and Brandon Cooks and Christian Kirk and Rashid Shaheed and Kayshon Boutte?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. That's what's wild about this.
But none of them stand out.
No, none of them stand out. And again, you're going to find if they didn't have red flags, they wouldn't be 3,500. So you're going to have to live with something. Keon Coleman, if you want to talk about the positives, and again, I don't get immersed in this stuff, but from what I do know about him, he's got all the tools physically. The guy is, like, I thought he was going to be a problem on the outside. Hasn't really panned out, but he is a big physical receiver. And when he looks good, he looks outstanding. It hasn't been consistent by any stretch, but you could do worse than that. And to your point, I know it always seems like Josh Allen takes it upon himself on the ground. If you look at his playoff games, he actually throws more than you would think. And they could be trailing here. I know Shakir will probably have his shot at his bubble screens, but if you look at like ADOT, Keon Coleman's going to get a couple deep shots in this game, I think, no matter what happens. I don't know if he'll convert them, but he'll have a couple opportunities for sure.
Yep, definitely. Game Day Swami, dog, look at Riley Moss' completion percentage when targeted. He's been really good. Yeah, but also, Swami, he's allowed 6 touchdowns in coverage this year. That's 4 more than any other cornerback on the Broncos. He's allowed 815 yards in coverage. That's almost twice as many as any other cornerback on the Denver Broncos. I'm not saying he's bad, but I think Josh Allen will definitely look to target him a little bit. And I think you and I would agree that you're going to target Riley Moss before you target Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to find a weakness on a defense that doesn't really have a weakness.
Yep. Yep. Doug, he's heavily targeted because he's opposite of exactly right. But that's what I'm saying. He's not bad, but he's also not nearly as good as Patrick Surtain, and he is beatable if you're Josh Allen. You have to look at it like that on a 4-game slate.
He does draw. I will give chat that. That guy draw every time I watch a Broncos game, that guy draws like he doesn't draw, he commits a million penalties. But yeah, we'll
Riley
see.
Moss.
I just always that's more of like just a me remembering specific plays, but
I don't want him doing that.
no, that doesn't help anybody. If I had to rank the for me, I'll do it like this. I hope this is somewhat helpful. If I had to rank the teams in terms of cheap flyers, I would have the Texans first, the Bills second, and the Broncos guys to me are really difficult to get to. I'd rather play Cooper Kupp over like Pat Bryant today.
I would too. What about and by the way, stick around because you got Eric and Spags coming up next. Ben and I are kind of just going around the horn here, which I think makes the most sense on this slate anyway.
You got to.
Yeah,
you got to.
What about Sutton? We haven't really talked about him, and I haven't heard his name mentioned all that much. And some of that may just be because Courtland Sutton is the type of guy that pulls disappearing acts all the time. We're basically with the field on him, similar to Stephon Diggs. But I'll be honest, I like Sutton, I think, a little bit more than Diggs today.
I do too. I like Sutton. I like Bo Nix, so that obviously is part of the puzzle. But Sutton, the targets are there, opportunities will be there, and again, I really respect. I know we've been talking about a lot of great defenses, but Houston's towards the top, and Drake May, I think, has his best chances to be running around. I don't think that Diggs is secure of anything, whereas Sutton should have ample opportunities at a reasonable price point.
Skull Crusher earlier said, "Laffy, where's my ring?" It's coming, dude. I any of the rings for anyone that won 20K plus, I wait till we have a decent order, and then I do them all at the same time, so I don't have to be constantly sending rings out. They're coming. Don't worry. But if you're not in the Stokastic Hall of Fame yet, Ben, all you got to do, that link down there in the description or stokastic.com/HOF, just download one of these beauties. I think you have this dark blue one right here. I'm not sure. But
no, I have the good looking one. The second from not that one. I think I have that one. Yeah,
that's a nice one. I think that's what I have this one on the left. Download that, use it wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. And just tweet us your wins, man, with the screenshot. It's so easy. You see what you get, by the way. I'm not sure people realize this. Like, first time you get a free month of any single sports Sims package. That's max, right? So like the $200 packages. Second time, you get another month of single sport package and a free week of any other additional sport you want. 3 times, and this could be in the nickel contest or the quarter jukebox. It doesn't matter as long as you're top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and you don't chop with more than 2 people. That rule's in there because if it's a showdown slate, then we go out of business when there's 50 avatars up there for Stokastic. A month of Sims All Access, $550 value. I mean, and then any 20K plus win, regardless of field size, you get the Stokastic ring in the spinning display case. It's pretty sweet, man. Commemorate your win. It's all engraved on there. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Here's one I haven't sent out yet, but yeah, it's pretty neat. You can see it right there. The ring spins.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, you got the name on there with the win, how much they won, when they won it, what contest. It's good stuff with the Stokastic emblem up there and their name. It's cool. Very cool. I need one of these, Ben.
Maybe. Yeah, me too. I hope I qualify for all of that today or tomorrow rather after the 4-game slate.
Yeah, baby. But for real, it's super easy. Just follow these. Just download this, use it wherever it is you play. And forget about all of these steps and shit. You can do that after you finish top 3. You can revisit this, you know. For now, just make sure that if you are winning, if you are doing anything, and if you are playing, that rocking that avatar is just going to put more money and more opportunity in your pocket in the event that you do win. And I say it all the time, you know, that other avatar of the family or the dog or the cat or your pet parrot or whatever it is. I know it's cool to you, but it's not getting you anything. And at the end of the day, we're the only ones that care about that, right? If you finish first place and your dog's up there, no one's going, man, that's a cute dog. I'm glad he won. No, they're going, who's that asshole? You know, I'm just, it's human nature. Okay. I'm just saying the quiet part out loud.
All
right. Eric Johnson, is that my ring for NBA? No, sir. This is a dude who never sent me his address after I made him the ring. So I decided after that, like, you have to email us, request the ring, give us your address up front.
Smart.
Game Day Swami. All right, good question. Let's get into this one because we still got some time here. Do you guys prefer Charbonnet or Walker? Honest answer, both. I like both of them today as 6.5, 7-point favorites. I don't think there's a clear differentiator there. I don't love the fact that Charbonnet's been getting more work in the red zone. Well, you don't love it if you're talking about somebody like Kenneth Walker, but I like both of them. I still believe Walker has big playability. We've seen it multiple times in recent games. But the crazy thing is this. I don't know if you know this, Ben. What do you think the inside the 10 split is on rushing attempts since week 14? So like that's their last 5 games, right?
Yep. I mean, I don't know, but to your point with Charbonnet, his big allure is that he's taken a lot of that opportunity.
Yeah. So 12-0. 12-0. 17-5 in the 20, 7-0 inside the 5. That's crazy. And as much as I want to get to Walker, it leads me to want more Charbonnet because Kenneth Walker, it feels like he's going to need to do it from outside of the red zone, like he did in that primetime game against, who was it? The Rams? Yeah, against the Rams. Feels like that's what he's going to need to do, and that just sucks. I don't like it.
It does. But yeah, I mean, I do like Kenneth Walker today. I think that you mentioned the explosiveness. Touchdowns could be tough. Touchdowns could be tricky, but he's doing a lot of really solid work for that team. And with Darnold possibly hobbled, maybe he gets even more work.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying when you take a look at ownership, and you can pull it up here in the Sims, you look at ownership, projected ownership, 22% on Kenneth Walker, 21.5% on Charbonnet, same ownership. The more I think about it, and Charbonnet's a smidge cheaper, I like Walker as well, but the fact that Charbonnet has essentially fully commandeered this role in the red zone, I do not like that at all. That concerns me a little bit. But if Walker breaks one from far out, sure. I guess what I'm getting at is that you're not getting massive leverage here. They're getting the same ownership at the same price. It's not like a situation to me where Kyron Williams is 6,600. And by the way, I'm boosting some Blake Corum today. I may have posted a Blake Corum bet over on Tails if you'd like to go check that one out.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got bets for today on Tails? Mine's obviously it's a tomorrow bet.
Of course.
Yeah?
There's so many boosts today. We made a trending topic so everyone can find the bets quickly because there's legitimately 10, 15 NFL boosts across the sites.
Bills, Broncos. Okay. Lotto's Australian Open, King of the End Zone. Yep, there's another one. Boosts.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I put an anytime touchdown out there. I put some I got them. I'm going to have a lot of NFL just like everyone else.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Jazz Raz anytime touchdown boost. Oh, you got Sutton in there? Why did you bury the lead?
Of course. Come on now. I didn't know that was the lead. I think the more not interesting, I have JSN in there. And of course, I don't feel as secure, but at the same time, it's not like if his quarterback is hurt, he has no quarterback. He'll have to play with a different quarterback who can also throw him the ball. So I actually feel completely fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm cool with it too. But Blake Corum is a guy I think I'm going to boost a little bit. I'm going to tell you why. Swift, Monangai, Stevenson, Trevion Walker, Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, or Trevion Henderson, sorry. Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, all these splits. A lot of ownership going to Harvey. What about the fact that Blake Corum, and we're not getting to any of him after the show. I'll go in and I'll set I haven't built my lineups yet. He could just end up not being good. But when you look at the touch counts between him and Kyren recently, there's still a lot of opportunity. They're basically in a 50-50 split once they get inside the 10-yard line as well. That's another thing to consider. Blake Corum's averaging over 10 rushing attempts per game in the past, I think, 6 or 7 weeks. The only one where you didn't get there was he got hurt early on, and he had 6 carries to Kyren's 3 when he sprained his ankle in that Atlanta game. So if no one's playing him, I mean, we're projecting him for like 2% ownership right now. 2%? If you're talking 2% ownership on Corum, and you know what, 14% on Kyren, Stevenson's getting more, Henderson's getting, all of these guys are getting more ownership than Blake Corum. He's essentially just forgotten on a slate where all but 2 or 3 teams have timeshares. And you made a good point about James Cook. While it's not a timeshare and Chai Johnson is out, Josh Allen is the greatest TD vulture. You can't even call him a vulture because he just scores touchdowns. And also, Ray Davis last week played 30% of the snaps in that game. Is anyone like, maybe we shouldn't totally ignore the fact that Ray Davis got on the field and was actually involved in a game that was obviously a must-win game. And James Cook ran 17 routes in that. Frank Gore Jr. ran a couple of routes in that game. I just don't know, man. That whole backfield scares me. So all of the backfields, all of them outside of Harvey.
It really, yeah. And even them, I don't think there are other guys that are playable, but there's a very non-zero chance. Like if you take the percentage chance, okay, take Denver rushing touchdowns, right? The chances that Harvey scores all of them, I don't know, it's maybe like 60%. I'm just throwing out a number, but like between Bo Nix and random gadget people, they have all these teams do. So the only real, like, Christian McCaffrey at this point is Christian McCaffrey, and Robinson is not a real factor. But I think Corum in a game, this is my kind of final thought. This is a game that could have how many Rams touchdowns? 5? Is that impossible? Clearly not. So it's not just like, Corum could vulture the lone touchdown. They could have 4 rushing touchdowns in the game. Like, there is that equity for a guy like that. High probability that he doesn't get there, but very big upside.
Yeah, but also a high probability that, like, Swift is an here. Okay, why don't we close the show on this? All right, close the show on this. I'm going to set this up. And while we do, Spags is popping in. Eric will be here in a second. While we do me a favor, Ben. Tell all of our friends here how they can go ahead and just simply get as many free months of the Sims as they want now that PGA season has begun.
PGA season has begun. Yeah, and it's really just on the screen right here. The beautiful thing is getting value on value. I talk about this a lot. So you have all these books, pick 'em. It doesn't matter where you live. Something is available to you. Find the one that is. Take advantage of their offer. You're going to see it. Some of these sites are going to give you some cash. Some are going to give you a bet and get, things like that. But don't just get that value. We're linked up with them. You're going to take what you did. You put in the bet, but then go back and follow those instructions, the 4 steps that Lofty just put on the screen. And all you have to really do is email us with proof of what you did, and you're going to get a month for each one. And you can use that for one sport and just keep going. You can mess around. So if you've never played PGA, try it for a month for free. Don't commit to 6 months. Try it for a month for free. If you already have NBA covered or whatnot, and baseball will be here before you know it. The easiest way that I get this question at least once a week from someone that says, I absolutely love your tools. It's just not in my budget right now. And I tell them the same thing every time. This is the best way to do it. And then they do it, and they get the same tools that everyone else in the community is using. They just got in at the best price possible for free.
Yeah, you say it a lot too. Like, the low stakes players can greatly benefit from something like that.
Oh my God. Think of the edge down there. Not everyone in those, and there's nothing wrong with playing those tournaments, but the majority of those people are not using tools of this level.
Yep. So keep that in mind, man. Link in the description if you haven't done so yet. All right. So this is what we'll leave on. Be sure to stick around. Our friends Eric and Spags coming up next to all 1,500 of you hanging out right now. So check this out. You can see the data hub, right, Ben?
Yep, absolutely.
Look at the optimal rates. McCaffrey's up there, Harvey's up there, but then 25% Walker, 23% Cook, 20% Charbonnet, 15% Swift, 15% Ramondre, 14% or 13% Kyron, 9% Woody Marks. And then you get down to guys like Henderson and Monangai and Corum. I'm not convinced that those guys should be this much lower on a slate than some of these other guys. But also, none of them outside of McCaffrey and Harvey, even at 40%, all of these guys in some form or fashion are kind of just, I don't want to say a shot in the dark, but there's a lot of different hoops you'd have to jump through or stars that would have to align for them to be optimal.
That's kind of the game theory nature of this slate, is that after the big couple players, it is wide open. And there's just varying degrees of risk tolerance. So it's always the balance of risk versus reward. If you need 10 things to happen and they all happen and the only reward is that the guy has a decent score, that's probably not enough reward for your risk. On the flip side, if you tell me, I need these 3 things to happen, but if they happen, this guy is going to be the literal leading scorer on the entire slate, even if it's a low probability, I would roll the dice with guys like that. So you just want to find the right blend and have enough risk, but most importantly, enough reward, because you're trying to beat thousands of people in these tournaments.
Yep, exactly. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. Always a fun time doing an afternoon show on a Saturday. Hopefully, you have.
Go
What's that?
Do you have to? I don't think we got enough show to shovel, but
I shoveled already, man.
Oh,
well. Let's see here. 7,000 steps today. No work.
Look at that.
Just moving around, staying active, you know. That's all. That's all we're trying to do. But yeah, we got 4 inches, I think, something here.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, we got more flurries. It's still snowing a little bit though.
Hey man, let's go win some money.
Let's see some money. Money at the top with the Stokastic avatars.
Hell yeah, baby. Anyway, Spags, Eric coming up next. Have a great weekend, guys. Remember, there's a show tomorrow as well, live before lock. It won't be us, but we do have one. And Ben and I will be back here championship weekend on Tuesday. First look show. Make sure to check it out right here on the Stokastic channel. See you later. we didn't know who was coming on. I said it was going to be Eric and Spags, and technically it is Eric and Spags. I'm out of here. I just wanted to make sure we were good to go.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know how to turn that off.
Totally unintentional. You could have just removed me. No big deal. We're good to go. EMAC, appreciate you, Spags. Have a good show, fellas.
Thanks, Laffy.
Oh, well, this is a little unexpected here, Spags. We get to do a football show. It's been a moment.
Yeah, this is a bit of a silly one here. So let's throw Eric under the bus right away. The other Eric, not the good Eric who shows up with literally no notice to come here and do an NFL show for you guys. But Eric Lindquist, I guess Greg said on yesterday's NBA show that Eric's off till Monday. He meant that for NBA, I suppose. And then Eric got confused, thought he was off today, even though we are, in fact, doing the normal show. We do the normal live before lock. But I am here with EMAC. Oh, Eric Lindquist also... He's in the car. Let's put him on. Eric, what do you have to say for yourself here? We got to get to the NFL stuff, obviously, but please give a defense and amidst your great incompetency here.
Well, my great incompetency is not being able to read a schedule, or the fact that I haven't worked a Saturday since night. But other than that, I've got my microphone. I have all my stuff with me. I had Emily emergent.
All right.
He doesn't even have a good connection. Oh, look, this is pathetic.
I do. Hello, I'm right here.
Laugh at Eric Lindquist, everyone.
We got you. We got you.
You were so mean to me yesterday. He said I wasn't on till Monday, and so I looked at the schedule last night. I'm in Arizona, and here I am with all of my equipment. I was going to be back in my home base later, but anywho, that's where I am.
Well, you know what, Eric? I think EMAC and I both can speak on behalf of all the Stokastic audience. We hope you have a great slate. Hope it's a good car ride to Arizona here. We'll do the work. Don't you worry. You take some time to yourself down in Arizona. Enjoy the nice weather. You don't get enough good weather in LA. You got to hog some more in Arizona. Enjoy and appreciate you, Eric.
Love you.
All right, EMAC, you want to do a normal show now that we've done some Howard
I
Stern
think
bits
we
up
can
top?
kind of do that. And sorry, Chad, I was planning on being, I believe, on the basketball show a little bit later today, I'm assuming. Now I better go check the schedule just to make sure we're doing one. In fact, we are 6:30. It's going to be me and you, Chris, back at it, the double duty here, covering for Lindquist while he's gallivanting around the country. So
he is gallivanting. I mean, you saw it, guys. You saw he's in his car. Who knows where he's going? He might be going to the strip club. We don't know. His poor pregnant wife is at home, and EMAC, he's just wandering around out there in his car with his microphone like some sort of vagrant.
Yeah, I guess. So chat, you don't have to worry about this. We've got all the knowledge. We'll kind of run. I haven't done an NBA live before forever, aside from the showdowns. So if you kind of want to help steer us here, Chris, that would be wonderful. But I want to remind all you guys, I wrote up every relevant player with notes, ranked them all for the 4-game slate. That is available on Tails right now. So you guys want to follow me on Tails, you can follow Spags, you can follow Lindy. There's all sorts of people there. Over 200 contributors are available on Tails right now. And they are, let me share my screen just so you guys can see this. They are giving all sorts of free content away. Now, my stuff is always going to be free over there on Tails. I just got to make sure I share the correct screen here. All my stuff will be free on Tails. But you can see, look at that, the entire player pool ranked. Put it in modular format here because we don't have a character limit. But what I've got is you can either filter on my name and then just scroll down and read the whole article, or you can click these handy dandy links. It'll pop the relevant section up in a new window for you. You're off and running. You can see everybody's picks there. You can follow people, and even if you follow people and you don't have their premium package, you will see all of their free content that they have, and you can set alerts. So if there's people out there that you like Greg, who's putting out content there every day, Josh, Laffy, Ben, etc., you guys can get all of that as well. And then if you find somebody that you like, you can see what their premium package is all about. Let's see if I bet Lindy has a premium.
I bet he's posting from the road. He's found a way
Probably.
to all the bets down.
He has not yet. He did, but look, here was his premium VIP pick last night for basketball. But you can see he puts out all sorts of content and free content as well. So check that out. That is Tails. I'm going to take that off the screen. For the time being. Alrighty. So I was in the process of building my lineups, of course. So I'm gonna be doing that now.
Are you playing the individual day slates in addition to the 4-game main slate?
I'm
or
doing
are you
the
just
4-gamer and I'm doing the showdown. So,
Okay.
So this will be pretty straightforward. And I've already kind of decided what I want to do. So maybe I can show you guys that on screen and we can talk through it. But let's see if we have questions here. And I see we did get a super chat here. So which defense is the worst statistically against tight ends? Now, what we want to think about here, and I know Chris is into all sorts of data here, the tight end position is utilized differently across various teams. And even if we look at Buffalo, they have two distinct tight ends. You know, you've got the Dalton Kincaids who kind of run those short to intermediate routes. They often work out of the slot. They split out, etc. You have the Dawson Knox who's more inline. So it's harder to say who is worse at that because it comes down to matchups. But we can kind of get a feel for who's softer in the middle of the field, who's more vulnerable on those flat routes, on those short comebacks, etc. Whose linebackers play back a little more, etc. That's where you really want to start getting into that nuance. I will say, and sadly, Kittle is out. I will say that Seattle's one vulnerability is kind of in the middle of the field there where the tight ends operate. Now, that does bode well for Jake Tongas, who is going to be filling in for George Kittle, but it would have been much more fun if we had Kittle in that. And there's another great example. Kittle's one of the best blockers in the league, and he has 3 or 4 of the top 12 yardage totals, single game yardage totals in NFL history for the position. So he does it all. Tongas couldn't even beat out Luke Farrell when Kittle was healthy. So Farrell's kind of their blocking back. So it's DVP has evolved a lot over the years. And even now in basketball, even you can't even really say, oh, it's against centers because half the teams still don't have traditional centers. So, but to your point, softer part of the field. Chris, I hand it over to you because I know you're into all the analytics there and you should have had a chance to, if you didn't know it off the top of your head from your great work with Splash Play.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, I always have my helpful data sheet here to reference things like this. And I always do make sure to double check when people say things like, oh, they're bad at defending this part of the field, that kind of thing. It's always good to make sure that's true because sometimes we develop these biases. But EMAC knows all from watching his cherished Seattle Seahawks. The middle of the field, you're right.
Oh, I could have worn my Seattle Seahawks shirt on the show. Damn it.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't have enough time. But yeah, the Seattle situation here, not allowing a lot of slot targets, only a 43% slot share of targets, which is a little bit low. Generally, slot, you're getting your highest rate overall. But because of the spot, you are still seeing they're limiting targets, but giving up efficiency when it goes there. A 0.2 EPA is towards the higher part of the teams left, in the playoffs at this point. Tight end target rates 11%, which is about average for all the teams on the slate. 0.2 EPA there. But you're talking about a team that in other parts of the field, versus receivers out wide, a flat 0 EPA. It's actually the best mark on the slate. They shut down your outside receivers pretty meaningfully. Running back targets, which I think is not great for McCaffrey, not super efficient in terms of the defense there, or rather McCaffrey will be seeing efficient defense against him. Negative 0.14 EPA per RB target allowed, 20% rate there. So in this spot, to me, I think your most beneficial situation is going to be the tight end. It was going to be McCaffrey getting target volume, maybe not target efficiency. He does sort of need at this point, teams that in the run game that miss tackles at a high rate, that's not Seattle. Teams that allow, high EPAs in the pass game, that's going to help McCaffrey out more. He might still get there today as, a PPR scam on a slate where the RBs are not, super fantastic overall. But I do think for McCaffrey, I'm with you that Tongas is a good play based on the data. McCaffrey, a better play than the out wide receivers, according to the data. But I think really both guys with their ownership, you can make a case to me that you could play no Niners in a lineup today. And I think with where the ownership is, that might work out okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of today is going to be leverage and what are we doing and what's game script, etc. The chalky lineups are all going to feel, it's going to be the ones that kind of everybody wants to play. The Jake Tongas, Colston Loveland, we're going to see some 2 tight end builds today just because they have better median fantasy point projections. But if you look at some of those sketchy wide receiver 2s and 3s throughout the team, one of them gets a touchdown, they're probably going to outperform Tongas, right? So then it becomes, do you really want to go after that chalk? And we just have it's just littered with these low-owned wide receivers here. I see we have another super chat here from Safeton is asking, hey, I'm thinking of super stacking the Rams game. Is this fine? I think a lot of people are potentially going to consider that route. I myself was going there as well, and I'll put the more relevant tools up here. I just want to build up my showdown lineups real quick. But for me, I like the Caleb Williams angle here because the Rams cornerbacks are their weakest part of their defense. They've got a great pass rush. They've got a good front seven, but their cornerbacks leave a little bit to be desired. Their names are escaping me, but it was in my article today over their free on tails. I think attacking them with Burden, Loveland, DJ Moore, etc., is a good thing. I would not play Rome Odunze, even though he's from the University of Washington. I'm nervous about that foot injury that he had, that whatever it was, a hairline fracture or what have you. That in the cold weather is not going to be great. He didn't look great last week. He's a chance to re-injure it at any time. I would stay away from him. So there's some interesting options there from the Chicago side. If we turn our attention over to the Rams, Chris, and I'll hand this to you. You've got Stafford, but zero rushing upside. But he's got probably definitely two of the three best receivers on the slate today that he's going to be going to. Competent, though semi-split backfield, but that can help keep Chicago off guard. I like this game for the best chance of turning into kind of like a score fest. I think it's going to start out a little bit slow in the first quarter because both teams are probably going to attempt to run the ball because they each have two decent running backs. But if one team gets ahead or these guys stall a little bit, they've got two of the best offensive minds in the game as their coaches for these respective teams. So I think that could be kind of a self-fulfilling or self-feeding prophecy that takes it to the next level. Just maybe not in the first quarter if they decide to say, hell, let's feel each other out, right? It's game's won in the trenches. So what is your take on stacking that game? Of all of them, I think that would probably be the one I would prefer to stack. And for sure, if it was in Los Angeles in SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are worried about the weather with Stafford. I mean, the potential snow as well. Not great stuff.
We're worried about that for Caleb Williams too. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb's played in Chicago long enough. I guess he gets the pass on that because it's like, you're playing in the weather for all your home games, or as many of the home games as you're going to have the kind of inclement conditions. And he is a California guy, obviously being from USC too, but I would say for Stafford, people I think are more concerned about it. That's the Vegas total's definitely not concerned about it with the 26.3 implied points today we have for the Rams. That's the highest on the slate now. They've pulled ahead safely of Seattle with Darnold's oblique stuff hanging over his head. And that's something we'll probably need to talk about here because I'm sure people are panicked about that in the streets. But I think really with Stafford, I'm not panicked about the weather here. When you see that big total, you all see against Chicago, the second softest pass defense matchup here. The best one today is going to be presumably Sam Darnold going against the Niners pass defense has been so bad on the year. But you also get Chicago's defense, like giving up 0.09 EPA per dropback, 0.1 EPA per pass. Definitely one of the weakest that we have in the playoffs left at this point. It's really only those two defenses, the Niners and the Bears, that stand out as like being particularly weak. So in the spot for the Rams, going to Stafford, going to Puka, who looks good again. I do think the touchdowns he ran hot on last week, I expect that as Davante Adams gets healthier, as we just see that stabilize more, you'll get back to Davante Adams getting more of the touchdown equity because on the year, he's putting up 2.3 red zone targets a game. Puka's at half that, 1.1, 1.6 at the 10-yard line for Adams compared to 0.7 for Puka Nacua. So I think Puka will still be there as a PPR play. I think this week you probably have a better chance of getting that double stack to hit, with Davante Adams, with Puka Nacua. But I'm with you that getting Stafford, seems like the most appealing QB play on the slate. In terms of my exposures and the lineups I built before the show, and I got to move stuff around again. I was getting Stafford at 30%. Need to actually rechange it here because I think giving some boosts moves Stafford down a little bit much. But I think he should be your top owned guy. To me, it should be him 1. I think Darnold 2. I would say Nick / Josh Allen at that point. I think Allen's going to be 2 under owned in the slate. But I think Stafford to me is the easy number 1 pick. And yeah, the running backs, I guess, to me, going to look, unplayed in my lineups. Fields barely going to play. Kyron, only 15% exposure there. Blake Corum at 5% or so. So maybe the run game gets there, and that's, the way that they score all these points. But I think relative to the matchup of what we've seen for the Rams all year, Stafford stacks to me should be the one with the biggest upside and maybe the biggest floor.
That is a good way to do it. Let's talk a little bit about Darnold here. So he tweaked his oblique. I can't remember now if it was on Wednesday or Thursday's practice. Now he felt a little something on a throw, and he hasn't thrown since. Now, it's not a surprise that he hasn't thrown since, but that news really hit home that he's probably playing hurt for the most part. He has said he has never had an oblique injury, and something just felt off. It didn't feel like a pop or anything like that. He was hoping that, we're going to attack it with, with treatment, etc., what the football players always say, and we'll see how it goes. I fully expect him to start, but there's risk that he leaves the game if he's ineffective, if he exacerbates it, etc. And they have Drew Lock waiting in the wings. The other thing the Seahawks have is a really good running game, and they have two co-lead running backs. We've got Zach Charbonnet, who has the bulk of the red zone opportunities and the touchdowns, and he appears to be kind of the more effective back, but he's not the breakaway back. Kenneth Walker's the breakaway back. They call him KW3. The funny thing about that, Wenatchee is a town in the middle of the state of Washington by where I grew up. That's the radio station there, is KW3.
Oh, that because he went to UW. That's fun.
Yeah, so KWWW, the Northwest Innovation Station, Wenatchee, Washington, Moses Lake and Quincy. So that he is the more explosive back. So he has the longer touchdowns. He also has more rushing yards. He has more receiving yards, and I think he might be the better pass catcher, but he's had a longer injury history. So the team has been very good about keeping them both fresh. It works for them. This fits in well with their good defense, and they could win the game against the 49ers with a limited passing game or Drew Lock. We've seen Lock come in. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. He came in for a crucial game that was the Seahawks were still in the playoff hunt, and he replaced why am I blanking on his name already? Geno Smith. And so Locke has been on the team for a while, but remember, he was there under Pete Carroll. Now he's under the new coach, etc. But he has been with the team since the Russell Wilson trade, so he at least has familiarity with the players, etc. So if he comes in, I think the offense will still be functional. They'll rely on the passing game or the rushing game. But here's the big question: how much Darnold are you playing? I'm going to play very little.
Oh, interesting. So I'm willing to play, into the fact that people don't want to be there. I mean, relative to the projections heading into yesterday, he looked like he'd be your cash game QB using industry projections, even Stokastic data. Bo Nix right up there as well. But still those two guys, I think for Darnold, the spot's a lot better going against this Niners defense that is so bad. Like I mentioned, Chicago's second worst in the slate, but for the Niners on the year, they are giving up a slightly higher 0.12 EPA per dropback, 0.13 EPA per pass, 82% catchable ball rate allowed is the highest on the slate, and they're not even around the ball. It's a 5.7% pass deflection rate. So for Sam Darnold, I think anecdotally, like I do worry. Part of the reason I've been a little bit down on Seattle this year, relative to them being a 1 seed, getting the bye and all that, is I do think Darnold, when he gets to a high leverage spot, if he's got to face the AFC's top defenses, if he has to face some of the top NFC ones, I think that's where we see the floor a little bit more. But in the spot where a team is not deflecting passes, not allowing a high catchable ball rate, I don't even know that it might matter for Darnold and his oblique. Like they're not creating pressure at that high of a rate either. 17% pressure rate's okay, but relative to all the playoff teams, it's actually one of the lowest on the slate. I think for Darnold, you can find success here. So I'm getting 20% of him right now. Again, he's not as exposed for me as Matthew Stafford. That's the guy I want to get to the most. I think for Darnold in the spot, if people are going to be afraid of the oblique, like one of the guys in my Splash Play Discord was like, I'm going to play Drew Lock no matter what. And like, I don't give you, if they say Darnold's starting, like, oh, he might get hurt and not play. And it's like, he'll play through it. I mean, this is a playoff spot. They paid him like a star player. They got the 1 seed this year on his back. This is not the kind of game where a player like Darnold misses unless he just literally can't go. But if Schefter's, replying to people saying he's going to go, he'll just be limited. Pretty confident he's going to go. He probably just won't be as good as he normally is. But I think your point about the running backs, fair as well. They could lean on them more. But in the spot, it's a good, a good matchup as well for Walker, for Charbonnet. I agree with all your takes there. Charbonnet is your guy. It's at the 10-yard line. He's dominating the workload there. 1.9 opportunities inside the 10-yard line per game compared to Kenneth Walker at 0.6. So you're talking 3x the workload when we are in those high value spots. I think flipping ownership for Charbonnet and Walker, trying to get in the sim, I think you're going to naturally get more Walker. I want to get more Charbonnet because Walker does have to break big plays to get there. But I think really for Seattle, Darnold plus one of those running backs plus JSN with AJ Barner, even I think you talk me into it, EMAC, because like people are going to be afraid of Darnold today. Even you, a Seahawks fan, you can play 20% Darnold. It's so easy. You're not doing it on the one day they have a shot.
No, and that I think is fair. Now we still have time to think about it. So I was building. So just so you guys all know where I'm coming from here. One, I thought I'd have the luxury of building up my lineups on while listening to Mr. Lindquist instead of filling in for him here. But I've got 5 contests or 5 lineups in the $1 Million Maker. I've got, I think, 11 in contests that are between $5 and $12, and a bunch of the single entry stuff. I was maybe going to do one lineup with Darnold in the Millionaire. I'm feeling a little nervous about that, but you'll have time to bail out of it. That's the beautiful thing about this. You're going to have time to readjust things as needed. And I'll probably have 1 or 2 of those other 10 lineups with them. And then I'm going to pick, 40 lineups or whatever's left, 35 lineups from the Sims, because I usually run 50 lineups. And I will accept Darnold coming into those lineups. But earlier before the injury, at least until Thursday, I would have probably had Darnold as my top quarterback, like the tools and everything we're showing there. The one other thing I want to mention about Darnold is they had games against Atlanta, against Carolina, and there was at least one other where JSN had 1 or 2 targets in the first half. And for as being as lauded a offensive mind, and I think he's really good. He's going to end up being a head coach somewhere like his dad was. But Clint Kubiak and Mike McDonald are very comfortable not pushing things early, which can be a little frustrating. But we saw Darnold have several games. Now he had a bunch where he had like 30-plus passes, but we saw several games where it was in the 20s. So their default position is a semi-conservative plan here, which could help him with the injury, right? And this isn't necessary. I never thought they were going to come out, off to the races from the jump here. So for those that are thinking about playing lock, unless Darnold really finds out, I'm not going to be able to do anything, he's going to play the first half.
Yeah, and I think more than that, like if the game's competitive, and I presume it will be, they're not that big of a favorite. But if the line drops further, actually, where is it at right now? Because I did not pull in lines right before the show. We're down to Seattle. No, we're still at Seattle -7, so it hasn't even moved really for any concern about Darnold. The game should be competitive enough, but it's not so big of a total that you're expecting Seattle run away with it either way. And obviously, if you're worried about the injury, you're not expecting to run away with it no matter what. But yeah, Darnold, my concern would just be that he's limited, like you mentioned, like Emac mentioned, the game plan maybe a little bit more conservative, which would be the case already for Seattle, given the fact they are one of the lowest, pass rate teams on the slate. They're about -7% everywhere, -7.4% in the red zone. So they're already taking the onus off Darnold whenever they can. With him being banged up, you're not able to move, probably not able to run bootlegs, stuff like that, quite as much. Definitely check downs might be more on the menu, but I think it still helps the same guys anyway. Like if he has to check down more, maybe he gets it to Walker slightly, fractionally more, maybe Charbonnet as well a little bit. But JSN's still gonna be your biggest beneficiary. AJ Barner probably still your biggest beneficiary of him having to get the ball out faster when he does play. So I just don't see the Darnold downside really, especially if people are just gonna underplay it today because it's he's still a valid play, still a 7-point favorite in the spot, even though total did come down a little bit.
And I'm expecting we're gonna get. I don't have all the right stuff up. Let's see. I wonder if we'll get one more run of popularity and player projections. Let me try not to break things here. Oh, yep, we actually just did. So I'm going to refresh this screen here and we'll redo this. So we're going to go to the data hub because I want to see what has changed. Hopefully I am sharing the correct screen. Yes, I am. All right, so this is the data hub. This is where everything lives now. It's Stokastic, all of our boom bust information, things that we had on all the different tabs and tools. It's all incorporated now on this page. You can see top stacks here for football. It's broken out. You can see just everybody's raw stats. You can filter by whatever slate you're looking at. This is an easy way to see all of the information dashboard here. So let me clear out because I was looking at defenses, but let's go look at Darnold here and see where he lands. So I should have grabbed the earlier stuff, but we can see, look at how tightly grouped our quarterbacks are here. And this is one of the toughest things to do. Now, when people are in this, I'm not giving away the the secret ingredients, and I have not had any input on the data time or any tools in several years. So, but how you look at this is everybody's looking at what everybody else is doing. ETR, Roto Grinders, us, Run the Sim, Saber Sim. Everybody's kind of eyeballing what people are doing, and they're trying to understand who's driving the market the most, and what are other people showing with their projections, and then who's going to pivot off where, and what's the, what do they like to say? What is the drum beat or the cadence spend for different players and all of that. I would have thought that Caleb Williams would be kind of that guy. Here he is. What is that? The 7th most popular quarterback. Now we're splitting hairs because everybody's so tightly grouped here. But knowing this, and this is where I thought, hey, my 5 lineups are going to be good because I can build one different quarterback in each lineup, and I'm above the field, right? Because that's 20%. So you got to take and approach these slates differently. But here's our latest look at Darnold. I believe he was down to like 217.5 on his. I didn't know if you looked up his passing yards. I think it was sliding towards 200. I didn't go back and look at it, but I think it's either, who knows. It's going to be the biggest point of the day. The victory laps, one way or the other, are going to be phenomenal on Twitter, regardless of the outcome. So we shall see. But look at that, hardly any leverage with quarterbacks. So that means differentiation can be found within the quarterback, but it also means the stacks are going to be very common. So when people have, Allen, they're going to have one, if not two, of the nebulous pass catchers for the Bills. If someone has Stafford, for sure they're going to have one, trying to get to two, trying to get both Puka and Devontae a little tougher. But still possible. The other thing I wanted to show here before I kick off this next set of sims is look at the wide receivers. So we can get down here, and I've got this sorted, let's sort it by popularity. You've got fully capable players down here that could easily pop off for a touchdown and 50, 60 yards up and down the sheet. Rashid Shaheed. He hasn't done anything for the Seahawks. Guess what? He has a kick return and a punt return touchdown on his way to making first-team All-Pro returner since he joined the Seahawks. But these guys are, anything can happen on these games. If I was looking at somebody that I think could pop off, Jaden Higgins, why not? He's a decent player. He can fill in for Collins. Xavier Hutchinson, another guy. These guys I don't think are going to get volume, but who's to say they don't do much better than Kirk did last week. And frankly, Kirk had almost half his production for the entire season in one game. Crazy. Yeah, or matched it, I should say. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think too, rerunning the sim, it does seem like JSN's coming down a decent amount. I mean, I will say one thing I did for myself, which makes me not feel great as I see the sim ownership. I think it's a part because Darnold's coming down. The total for, the Seahawks did come down at least a half point, maybe more than that, depending on where your book is. Would say that for JSN, I think to me, he's like a 66% play on the slate. Like, I think getting to him, Puka Nacua around that rate feels right to me. Being a little bit lower on McCaffrey feels right to me. The sim right now is moving more towards McCaffrey. Got 67% McCaffrey in my top 150. Got Puka Nacua at 56. And then JSN all the way down to 30. Darnold in the sim also came down to 13%. His ownership also now at 14. So it does seem like there is a data movement against Darnold as well, with the total coming down a little bit. Maybe the data team accounting a little bit more for the potential injury. But man, I like Darnold more than we're getting. I'm willing to die on that hill today of just, if nobody wants to play the guy and he was previously looking like the best play in the slate, I'm still willing to give it a shot, especially against the softest defense on the slate.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave here. Who is out there? So we've got split backfields. So let's talk a little bit about that. So I'll kick you off here with Chicago. So and this is all in my article, but I'm doing this from memory, but essentially over the last 7 games, including the wild card game, we have DeAndre Swift is averaging about 2.5 more carries per game than rookie Kyle Monangai. Okay, interesting to know. They both popped off for a big game. They both have scored touchdowns. Swift still has the edge. I think it's like 5-2 or 6-1, something like that. And then targets. They are separated. I think Swift has one more target during this time frame. And from a snap share, it's kind of a 55-45 during that stretch of 7 games, including the wild card game here. But the way I see that game today is Swift is the more polished player. I think we see things tighten up a little bit more with him getting first crack over Monangai. But I would think it's a similar story for Kyron Williams in that same game and Blake Corum in that same game, right? Corum is the more dynamic player. He's the better guy outside the tackles, but Kyron is the better guy inside the tackle, much better pass catcher and much better blocker. But Corum is, he's got that breakaway speed. But I think guys like Corum are going under-owned today. And I think he's an interesting differentiation point. And I think if you go down the line outside of the Seattle guys, the better of the back, you get half of the popularity on the second back on most of these. Now I haven't looked at those particular numbers since this morning, but that was holding true. So it's a way of differentiation. What do you think about the shared backfields? Because the one that scares me the most is New England.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, I think for me on the slate, I'm really comfortable with RJ Harvey. Unfortunately, I think the field's going to be comparably comfortable. But the fact he's getting that matchup against Buffalo, who is one of the worst run defenses in football, let alone one of the worst run defense left in the playoffs. 0.1 EPA per rush allowed given up by Buffalo. That's, again, the worst by a decent margin here. In the red zone, it doesn't get better. 0.2 EPA allowed in the red zone. And that's usually one of the things I look at for defenses where, like, Houston has a weird aberration. The red zone, their pass defense gets a lot worse for some reason, across the rest of the field, not so much. But for, a team like Buffalo, when you're bad in the red zone, you're bad everywhere. There's not some underlying strength, some small sample size stuff that's going to make, this situation look better. And for RJ Harvey, you have nobody else going to take work away like Dobbins. They didn't activate. Apparently might not be able to do it this playoffs. McLaughlin, those guys, I just don't see taking work away from Harvey, who they have relied on a lot. And it's a situation where, Denver is at this point, pulled away as a favorite, now 1.5 point favorite at home. It was a pick him to start the week. So I think for Harvey, I feel really comfortable about him. And then it's just kind of putting the players around that. And to me, I'm more comfortable taking a shot on the Walker Charbonnet, duo there. To me, again, trying to get more Charbonnet than Walker, but that's my RB2 a decent amount. They're trying to get more Cook, still trying to get some McCaffrey, even though, like I mentioned, I think to me, he's like a max half my lineups play, probably closer to 33% play for me. I think because of that, I'm not really getting to the Kyron tier. I'm not really at all getting to the Corum tier. I think for me, that's sort of the issue is like, if people aren't going to get to Kyron enough, let's try to get to Kyron, but let's not try to get to Corum as well. Oh, all right. We're getting invaded here.
This is like a raid on Twitch. Another show audience is joining.
Well, whenever Alex and Luca come home, I try to get her to take Kitty out so that Kitty can go and not be stuck in the studio. But now lately, Luca's barging in yesterday too, as people watch the NBA live before lock. He then comes in and feels like he has to say hi. And it's like, we can't do the whole thing,
Hey, why not? Why not? There, pretty soon he's going to be driving, then he's off to college, and then you're going to be a granddad. You got to enjoy these moments.
All right. He's still melting down outside the door, so I'm going on mute. So we're having a great time.
All right, no problem here. So what you guys don't know is behind the scenes here, I'm putting my cash game lineup in. I did not get the time on it that I wanted, but I will tell you guys this. It does not have Sam Darnold, but it does have Jackson Smith and Jigba. And for the moment, AJ Barner. I only have, Bo Nix is the only player I have from this game. So if you guys want to grab those, username EMAC, $1 head-to-heads. I got my head-to-heads out there for the showdown as well. So let me save this file. And again, I wasn't supposed to be here, so thank you for your patience, guys. But I got like $800 in play, and I don't want to light it on fire. So let me get that.
I'm back, so you cannot light your money on fire. But yeah, he apparently wanted to show me a turtle that he got at the aquarium because Alex very thoughtfully took him to the aquarium during the afternoon so I could get my stuff done for any NFL and NBA today. But you have a 3.5-year-old, a 4-year-old. They do not like when they can't do the stupid thing. Stupid, adorable thing, but they got to do the thing.
All good. All right. So I was just telling chat that I have more in play than I had anticipated today. So I did not want to. I'm sorry, I'm making that a bit of a priority at the moment. But again, let's blame Lindquist. But I'm building out my data file, so I'll be ready to start picking lineups, and then it'll just be a matter of uploading them here but I want to make sure I got it mostly set up so I don't fritter away what little edge.
Well, why don't you take care of that party, Mac? And I guess let's round out the rest of running back, because I know we've talked about most of the key guys at this point. For me, again, it's mostly a McCaffrey, Harvey. That's the first decision point I think you're making. Harvey, I feel pretty comfortable with, like I mentioned, but again, I think the field's going to feel that way too at 6,200 on DraftKings. Price tag is just a little bit too low for where he is in this role against a defense out, everybody, not just me, not people using EPA data, but anybody who just opens the DraftKings app will know that Bills run defense, one of the worst in football. So I think Harvey going to be even potentially more popular than the 46% Stokastic's giving him right now. Besides that, though, sim-wise, getting McCaffrey a lot. I bumped my number down, but in terms of just a pure sim here, the top 150 lineups getting 67% McCaffrey, field 62. Harvey getting 60%, the field's at 46. Again, I like being up on Harvey, so that's not something I would knock down. Kenneth Walker getting 33% in the top 150. The field's at 21. Charbonnet, you're also getting 33. Love that for Stokastic where they balance it out for you because I think these two guys have very similar ranges of outcomes. And, the ownership right now favors Charbonnet by a little bit, 22% for the field expected compared to 20. But for those two guys, I think you want to get them flat because the opportunity for them is pretty flat. James Cook at 23%. Sim is holding hands with that. I think that's good. And then your lower owned pieces, Swift, Ramondre, Marks, Kyron. I think Kyron to me is Woody Marks probably is the least split backfield out of all of them, but Kyron number 2, Swift gets the first crack at it. He's usually running hot enough that he could stay out there because he's better than Monungai at this stage of things with how he's played this season. But I really don't love these guys. They shouldn't to me be more than 10% plays. To me, it mostly comes down to are you playing Harvey? I think you should. Are you playing McCaffrey? No, then just rotate the other guys around it and see what you can get.
Let's see. What have we not? I guess we should talk a little bit more about here, let's do tight ends real quick. So we threw out Tongus, who is going to be one of the more popular plays, as is Colton Loveland. Loveland is surging at the right time. 3 consecutive games of 20 plus full PPR fantasy points. That's nice. Tongus has we've seen what he does including against the Seahawks when Kittle is out. Who else is there from that standpoint? Now, AJ Barner, the one semi-bonus, though they haven't done it very much this year, that he has that I call up for the showdown slates is he's their tush-push guy. Mm-hmm. But Elijah Arroyo is back. They did open his practice window, but they've said he's not going to be active, even though he was a full participant in practice. So they're more worried about having good blockers because that's the one thing Arroyo can't do is block. But that also bodes well for Barner because he has been playing, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's closer to almost 80% of the snaps over the last several weeks or in several of the games he has because he's an adequate blocker and he's kind of their best pass catching guy. And remember, yes, they cut Noah Fant or released him, but that was kind of part salary cap, but part also just Barner guy's pretty good at a fraction of the price. Let's keep him. And then they spent the 6th round draft pick on Arroyo. So I think it's a vote of confidence for Barner that Arroyo is not elevated today.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense for sure. I mean, the tush push thing I think alone would be enough to consider for him, and really the fact that he is your number 3 targeter on the team. Actually, is he number 3? Let me quickly confirm that. No, he's technically number 4 behind Shaheed, but Shaheed, that includes some of the New Orleans sample size, so he's close enough to Cooper Kupp, who's averaging 4.4 a game. AJ Barner's at 4. Shaheed's roughly around the same mark. I think for those guys, Barner's got as much of an opportunity. He does get more red zone work than those guys, 0.9 targets a game this season as opposed to 0.5 for Shaheed, including his New Orleans stint, 0.8 a game for Cooper Kupp. So it's a decent red zone role for Barner, and you do get that little boost for tush push. I don't mind that, especially if you are going to go into the, I think, lower owned Darnold stack options. But the one that stands out the most to me in terms of Tongus, Loveland, I think those are your cash game plays. Those guys are going to make a lot of lineups. And again, probably that duo, if you're going to separate things out, the field's just going to do naturally a little bit too easily. Playing Tongus and Loveland together is going to be the first thing they do. But I think those guys are good enough plays. Tongus at 3,400 on a slate where we don't have a ton of value. He's a very obvious play to get to. But the guy I want to boost is Dalton Kincaid. I think the spot for him is better than most going against Denver's defense that's so shut down. But inline tight ends, giving up getting a 0.17 EPA against Denver. For the most part, all these other spots, negative EPAs out wide. And the slot, it's also not great either. So that's going to hurt Kincaid a little. But Kincaid in a high leverage spot, I think, where Buffalo, in my opinion, going to have a hard time moving the ball. The QB runs aren't going to be there as much for Josh Allen or as efficiently because they have shut down QB runs. 0.3 EPA on QB runs, one of the best marks in the league for Denver's defense. So the Kincaid is a guy that can sort of benefit from the fact that I think everything else is going to be shut down to some extent for Denver. And, they do play man defense at a decent clip. Kincaid's probably your best man defense receiver, commanding about a 27% target rate versus man. Nobody else on the team above 20, including Shakir. So I like Kincaid as a pivot, but really to me, if you like Schultz, you like Barner, you really love Drake May and Hunter Henry, I think this is where we find that New England floor. I'm praying it is. Any of those guys you go to that aren't Tongas or Loveland, you're going to be more unique for it because the field is going to cram in those two, and just that's what they're going to do.
What do you think the path to victory is for Buffalo overall? Do you think they're going to have to lean on the run game? Is that the best way to attack Denver?
I mean, I think what I think they're going to do is try to rely on the run game. I mean, as the chat points out, and I don't think there's a reason to not play Cook, but Cook has been on the downswing a little bit lately. Even last week with no Ty Johnson, thought we get an uptick in opportunity, thought he had a shot. He had to play a mini CMC role, and he just didn't do that with the opportunity being opened up there. But I think what they're going to do is the same thing they've been doing all year, which is like, if Cook's not running hot, it's just Josh Allen wish casting. I personally, and it's not a hot take given the fact that Denver's 1.5-point favorite, but it kind of feels like it relative to the markets. I think Denver wins here. Like, I think Buffalo is a team that people assume, you have no Mahomes, you have no Burrow, you have no Lamar in these playoffs. Like, it's Josh Allen's playoff. But in my opinion, Buffalo is just not as good as Denver defensively. It could bite me in the ass. It'll be the first game of the slate, so you can know if I'm going to be. I guess if I get this wrong, I'll be more likely to be right about other things in the slate because that's the nature of how it works. So be mindful of your fades accordingly. But I think Buffalo loses. Like, I just don't. I think Denver's a really good defense. I think Buffalo's offense has been spit and duct tape all year, and I just don't know that they do get there. So. But I think if they're going to win, it's probably Allen improvising. Kincaid does something. Maybe Shakir PPR scams his way there. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in Buffalo here.
All right. It's kind of hard to get Kyron and Monongai into lineups here. Woody Marks is coming into 0 of 50. No Corum, no Monongai. That's interesting here. And again, I'm putting some caps here and boosting other players, etc. But I have it on 3 uniques for those wondering. So I had to change my approach. I'm going to build out my 3 or my 50 lineups, and then I'm just going to do 5 on top of it in the single lineup sim to get what I want for my combinations I want for that millionaire maker. Do you want to be over or under Christian Kirk today?
Let me check where my final numbers are because I'm playing with another sim to see if I want to re-upload things again.
So we have them at 17 for the field at 17.
So I am up then. I'm getting 31% Kirk right now, which is, definitely an appreciable stand. And he does feel like the kind of guy in a playoff situation, your slot guy that can get where he needs to go. Sort of the kind of player you need when Nico Collins is out. That said, when we have had Nico Collins out in the past, CJ Stroud gets his most target agnostic where he'll throw the ball to anybody. He'll throw it to Schultz. He'll throw it to your Xavier Hutchinsons, let alone Higgins, Jalen Noel for as much as they're out there. So I don't know that Kirk is guaranteed a top receiver role, but I do think with what we saw last week, it was a do or die spot. They relied on Kirk pretty heavily, and he's the kind of receiver that he'll just be able to kind of get open and be able to get targets and make them, even if they're not, great targets, he'll move the ball, he'll catch the ball. So I think Kirk, to me, a solid play, but definitely one where if I'm getting 2x the field, I'm cool with it, but I don't think you want to have him like half your lineup. So I don't want to treat him like he's a certain thing because I really don't think he is.
No, that's all fair. And so, chat, what I'm going in here is I'm setting ceiling caps for guys to try to force some of the lower players to get some stuff or to get some representation. All right, let's see where I am on tight ends. Ooh, nice. That's an awful lot. 50% of Dalton Schultz feels like a lot. We'll go 35. Tongas, we're going to go 50. That should force a little more to Loveland and Barner. I can live with those numbers. Hunter Henry. If you were stacking May, who do you want to stack him with?
That's a tough one because I don't have a lot of faith in Drake May in the spot. I am, look, it hasn't worked out super well this year, given the fact that Drake May is beat up on tomato cans all regular season. But last week, I feel like we saw the floor a little bit more against a Chargers defense that is good, but not quite as good as Houston's defense is going to be today. Personally, I don't want to go to Drake May as much as if I can avoid it. But if I were going to go to him, I think Diggs would still be your obvious one. Butte does loom as a guy that can take that work away, but in large field tournaments, I just don't see how you get there very much. The field's at 8%. I feel like if you get 10, you're more than good on the Butte front. If he does hit that magical ceiling, Henry, I think, is going to come up the most if you're going to Drake May, but I don't really trust the running backs. The receivers still in a pretty tough timeshare. And guys like Kyle Williams that play a good amount, generally also not producing very much while they're out there. And his snaps, definitely can be fluid with the playoff situation they're in now. So if you can avoid going to Drake May and New England stacks, that'd be great. But if I were going to choose one, I guess it would be Diggs. That's not a brave take or anything.
All right. Let's export these lineups here. And we'll build out the 5 real quick. We got 9 minutes to go, which, of course, is terrifying with the amount of time that is or is not. But yay, I guess. Are your lineups looking set?
Yeah, I'm tightening things up here because somehow it came up in a way where I uploaded duplicates, and I'm not really sure why, so I got to tweak that.
All right. Well, let me share my screen again. So let's go back to single lineup sim. No pressure. So I am going to I'm going to delete that. And then real quick, I want to make at least, let's do a May. Let's do a Diggs. And let's, oh dear God, let's go with Woody Marks. We're going to put this at 10%, and we're going to let the Sims create the lineup. Now, I'm not going to run all these because it's going to take a hot minute to do so, but I'm going to run this one and show you guys what the ROI ends up being. Okay, 9%. I can live with that. Let's build lineup number 2. I wanted to do one that has Stafford. I want it to have Adams, and I want it to have Nakua. Oh, not Nakua. I want it to have JSN. So I think JSN is perfectly fine with any type of quarterback that is with him. He makes the quarterbacks look good. I see I'm getting a lot of this combination, but since I'm just putting this in my 5 lineups for the $1 million contest, I can go tweak these a little bit. And look, that one only has RJ Harvey to start out with. Let's go back here. Now I want a Puka and a Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I want a Caleb, and I want Loveland's going to be popular. Let's go to Burden, and let's give it 15% randomness because it keeps giving me Tongus. Of course it does, but now we got Dalton Schultz in there. Let's see what that one looks like. 6 minutes to go for anybody wondering. Oh, 17%. I'll take that. So that was my Caleb lineup. I got who don't I have? I don't have my lineup with Allen, Cook, Harvey, and I wanted to go with Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox, yes.
Honestly, the push-pull of when you adjust your exposure caps and stuff always throws me for a loop where I was getting guys tight. I'm like, oh, cool. All the exposures look great. Then it's like, oh, you have 25% Caleb Williams. I'm like, oh, it's not exactly where I wanted to be. So trying to figure this out, much like you are, Emac, but I enjoy your narration because it really makes it easy for me to just keep clicking.
It takes a village. It takes a village, and Eric Lindquist is that village idiot. Just so you guys know.
Just getting dunked on by Emac. Hate to see it.
Love to see it. Come on. How about we do that? Caleb remembers how to get sacked. You realize he was sacked 40 fewer times this year than he was last year.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. For Caleb, all right, I think I still have a couple dupes, but I can figure this out after the show. We got Chicago in a spot against the Rams. Rams are generating pressure a lot. So they only blitz 18% of the time. They create pressure, 26% of dropbacks, a 9% QB hurry rate. I would say anytime, and this is not, anything new, anything that's going to be something you guys don't know, but sometimes it helps to hear it. When you create pressure on a QB, it just introduces variance. So if the QB is seeing pressure, the QB could sometimes break a big play because you have one more guy rushing, something like that. Or it's a situation where the secondary thinks the QB is going to go down. He doesn't. For a guy like Caleb who extends plays, that might open up a play downfield, kind of like the one he threw last week on that 4th down where his feet weren't even on the ground. Those sort of situations happen when you do create pressure like a team like the Rams does. But, it could also be the other thing where the Rams defense maybe gets to Caleb more, brings him down, creates turnovers off of that. Like you could see the run bad after we saw the Caleb run good happening. So, I don't mind going to Caleb. I think, introducing that variance, not a bad thing against the defense. That's, not as soft as Chicago's, not as soft as the Niners, but is still, not a shutdown one as this Rams defense, the negative, 0.03 EPA per drop back allowed, negative 0.03 EPA per pass. You're talking about, a little bit worse than league average basically, and relative to the playoffs, not that tough. I think for Caleb, that's fun, but to me, that makes him like a 15% play. It doesn't make him a 25% play. And, Caleb, I just feel like Chicago is probably a year away. Like in my heart, I feel like they could win the Super Bowl or, make it to the Super Bowl, maybe not win it. Practically, I think they got lucky. Like thinking about that game against Green Bay more, they got lucky.
Yeah. All right. My lineups are all uploaded there. I did notice my $1 million. I have 4 of the 5 have San Francisco defense. So I'll probably go move that around just a little bit. But I built that out with 5 different quarterbacks that I feel comfortable with little game stacks within it. We'll go see exactly what happened there. But we got 3 minutes until lock. If you guys were not aware, NBA locks at 7:30 tonight. So there will be NBA Live Be Look for lock at 6:30. So you'll want to check that out. Again, I wrote up the entire player pool for this 4-game slate, which means the content's still going to hold for the 3-game NFL slate that is from tonight through tomorrow and the 2-gamer tomorrow. And I'm going to write up a showdown article specifically for that final game of the slate, Chicago and Matt Stafford there, the old guy in the cold weather. I was going to write up the one for tonight, but since I was on the show, don't have time to do that because I got to get ready for basketball. So, but if you guys go follow me on Tails, I would appreciate it. I'd love to get a few more follows. I just crossed over 600, and it helps the boss people know that you guys like the free content, the free DFS content that now lives on Tails, contributed by me. I will drop that link into the chat here if I can go find it. Well, why don't I just show it on the screen? Hey, I've got the power. Let's go to Tails. Let me go over here. Tails.bet. You can go find experts. You can click on anybody. You can search on their names. Hey, I picked up a few followers during the show. I appreciate that. But here's the link for you in chat. All you got to do is just click the follow button. It's easy to do, and it's fun. Sort people by the leaderboards. You can find people that who got the most likes. That's usually Greg because he puts out a ton of content. But Supreme Juice, we've seen him on some runs. Splash Bets, they're up there a lot. You can see who's been the most profitable based on units. So we can see that there is look, there's Greg. He is just Mr. Steady Eddie. But this is a good way to find other folks out there. These reset each week, but you can also go back and look at each of the last 4 or 3 weeks previously, and then the last month to see what's happened. You can see the long shot players. So Lisa Marie, she's one of the better ones at this, puts together parlays, a lot of parlays, and she shows that you can be profitable with the aim small, win big approach with parlays. So she does a lot of live game or in-game recommendations as well. For basketball, I think she does NHL, and then I know she does football. But basketball, she's constantly putting out stuff. But these are some of the folks you guys can follow. You can see here who else. DK DFS. Where's my list of followers? Go to my picks feed. Come over here. We can see DK DFS. I know he just posted one. Ooh. This is premium one. I'll flash that up there for a second. Kyle Filipowski, over 24.5 fantasy points. I'm guessing he thinks that a certain use of Nurkic may not be playing again tonight. So check that out. That is Tails. And we are at lock. Spags, we made it. We made
Yes.
it.
So let's plug the fact we're going to do this again for NBA in 2 hours. Emac and I just holding it down on the weekend. But if I may put in a plug too, check out my Splash Play channel. It won't have anything useful for you right now because the NFL slate that I talked about is now locked. But check me out over there. I do content for the NBA at Splash Play Bets, for the NFL at Splash Play Pod. Let's check those out. And Emac, I'll plug for both of us here. We'll be back in 2 hours doing NBA. So let's go hang out with I'll go hang out with Luca for a little bit. I'll prep NBA. And we'll watch some football, and you'll sweat your Seahawks for the next few hours, I'm sure.
It's going to be fun. Expect me to be wearing a Seahawks shirt for the next show.
Costume change. How fancy.
Absolutely. We spared no expense here at Stokastic. With that, gamers, good luck.